Reveille, reveille.
Look at us now, tip to
Ooh, Jesus.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
Shout to us doing what we love. But it's time to bang. Informa, I lick it bum bum down. Hey, we're back at it. It's Halloween edition of Morning Kombat Live, October 28th, Monday, 2024. That's Mario to my right.
Mario.
It's me, Too Cheesy. And we are, of course, having a little fun here, Halloween celebration. But we're back with a very important show because Luke Thomas will be providing live fellatio upon Ilia Topuria as we break down UFC 308. And a very special guest, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Stick around for pound ranked 24-year-old sensation Jesse Bam Rodriguez, who's back in November on the Boots Ennis doubleheader there on DAZN. We'll be chatting with that fella. So we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll have you seen this shit on the way out. Luke, you were the one that said, BC, we got it. We got to dress up. We got to do this.
We got to do it.
Okay? So if you're going to do it, you better do it. And you did it.
I did it. I got Mario with like a little extra belly here.
Those are some high nips you got right there.
I got some big old nippies here.
Yeah, and some pizza pies right there. Yeah.
I got some pizza pies. This is my outfit that I'm going to use to go and just fucking stunt on the block on you hoes out there. Especially now the Ilia Topuria one. And I just got one thing to say, BC.
Yeah, what's that?
Suck on my fat nuts. Suck on my nuts.
Do you know what?
Suck on my fat nuts. Suck on my fat nuts. Woo!
If only you had the balls to pick them by knockout, which you didn't.
I didn't have what? If I can be honest, in a moment of seriousness, in a true moment of seriousness, two things I didn't imagine. One, I honestly didn't think he was going to put his lights out, and he did. Two, dead serious. Watching Max laid out like that bothered me a lot more than I thought it would.
Yeah, watching Robert Whittaker tap in a half second bothered me a lot. When you put those two together, what a horrible night at the fights.
But that was more confusing than it was.
It was.
Because I was like, we talked about this before, like usually chokes over the jaw, you can kind of set your watch to, one Mississippi 2, because they have to kind of grind it. But that was like immediate. So I was like, what the fuck went wrong? And then there's a picture of like half of his jaw missing, and you're like, oh, right.
And then Chris Barnett hurt himself celebrating. I mean, it was just a rough night for my favorite fighters.
Yeah, Chris Barnett. Well, I mean, it's like, dude, you're 5'5" and 9,000 pounds. It's not a great combination for joint health. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to have a great show for you today for sure. I'm excited about it. We're back where we belong here, back in the studio. You can buy merch, by the way, if you like the show that much, by going to morningcombat.store right now, getting 10% off using our code LIVE10. That's LIVE10. We've got some of the best merch in this game.
You see, I got a question. How do you pronounce the name of Bam's opponent?
I think it's Guevara.
It is. So I asked my wife because there's no two dots over the U.
Yes.
Which would make it Guevara. So I asked my wife. Here's what she said. You ready?
Casares.
No. Hold on.
Pedro Guevara.
Guevara.
Pedro Guevara.
Yeah, Guevara.
Pedro Guevara.
That's the dulcet tones of Miss Thomas.
There she is. Shout out that lady.
That.
Let's bring in the third member of our team there on the ones and twos. They call him Long Island Luke, and he had a great performance this Saturday on the main of.
Did he perform fellatio?
I think he did
Definitely
it on himself. On the main card minute over there. Long Island Luke, how are you feeling today on this? Did you dress up for Halloween, biatch?
I didn't. You know, I considered it. I was talking to my girlfriend about it.
Should have told him.
I'm not on camera on Mondays, so I've felt it would have just
dressed up.
Yeah, how do we fix that?
It's a Ken question. You know, we got to talk to the guys back here.
He's high. I mean, I don't know what to do about that. He's baked right now.
But yeah, we had a good weekend on the main card minute. We did hit the bet generator. Ilia Topuria by KO under 2.5 rounds.
Wow.
Explain to the fellows what the bet generator is.
So I basically put a blind poll in the live chat. You just vote for A, B, C, or D. You have no idea what you're voting for, and then I reveal each column as we go. So they voted for like A, let's say, and that ended up being Ilia. Then they voted for C, and that ended up being KO. They voted for B, that ended up being under 2.5. We take the final prop, even if it sucks. By the way, Whittaker fight, we had Whittaker over 3.5 by sub. So it's really far off sometimes, but when it hits, it hits.
It hits. All right.
Do you think Long Island Luke dressed up as a degenerate gambler and pothead? Because I think he wins the.
It's like if your costume is guy who uses meth, you nailed it.
There you go. We love that guy. Luke, is Tukes excited this year for the big Thursday night Halloween?
It is. First of all, she dressed up yesterday for a Halloween party on our neighborhood park.
Oh wow!
I mean, we have to read Halloween books to her every day. She's begging to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, which, by the way, is a fantastic movie. That movie,
you love Tim Burton.
Dude, that movie took 3 years to make. They had to do it piece by piece. The soundtrack is good. Like, that's an amazing movie, but it's getting a little tiresome. So I'm ready for it to be over. And as I've told you, we get absolutely run over with children in our neighborhood. So
you should let her watch Edward Scissorhands.
Nah, I let her watch Corpse Bride, which Tim Burton also makes.
Okay.
She liked it. And we watched Frankenweenie, which is also, I don't know if it's Tim Burton, but it's Tim Burton-esque. And she liked that as well.
I love that title. That's great.
Frankenweenie?
Yeah, it's
I know,
fantastic.
and the dog's name is fucking Sparky. And then the movie's called Frankenweenie. I don't get it, but whatever.
I hear a weird echo in my ear. I don't know what
I hear a weird echo as well.
Yeah, I don't. They'll figure it out. Probably not, but that's fine. You know what I mean? Shout out to the team back there. We're big fans of them. Yeah, I mean, look, it's time for all of us to eat a big old plate of that Georgian Spanish humble pie coming up. But there's our socials. You can follow us, including our own YouTube channels. Thank you as well to the extended MK community for all the support across all of that, including Long Island Luke's mission over there on the main card minute. One big happy family right here. But without any further ado, I gotta show off the.
Yeah, look at these tats you've got.
Now, will I get?
You could absolutely be a UFC fighter like this. Look at that, huh?
Will I get stabbed at all on the way home? Is really the when I make that train change over there in New Haven. Would there be a problem?
I think you'll fit right in. If anything about New Haven, yeah, you'll be just fine there.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Hey, let's get into our show right now. Let's do it. Topic number one, you already knew what it was. UFC 308 went down in Abu Dhabi. So you knew it was a loaded card, and it featured one of the best main events on paper. Boy, did it give us something to talk about there, Bonnie Ray. Yes, Ilia Topuria did the thing. 3rd round knockout, breaking open a very competitive first defense of his 145-pound title against living legend Max Holloway. But it got violent from there. In fact, Luke Thomas, we already knew Ilia obviously had the potential to be great, if not break through our TV screens as the next face of the UFC. But after becoming the first fighter to not only knock down, how about knock out Max Holloway, does the MMA world owe Luke Thomas, I don't know, an apology at this point?
I didn't write that.
That's what I wrote in it. What say you, Luke? Because I've seen you've gone on Instagram. I feel like you're using this victory by Ilia to right a lifetime of wrongs that people have done to you.
First of all, I do hear that echo. If there's anything that can be done about that, it is detectable. You heard it too, right?
Are there headphones on the ground there?
Yeah, but the volumes, they're off. It shouldn't be.
right.
I don't quite know what it is. I mean, here's the thing, right? And I saw some people like replying, well, Ilia was favored to win, not like super significantly, but I think it was a minus 200 or so to win. So it's not like picking him is you're picking the favorite. But you'll recall on April 15th when we did that morning combat in this very studio, this was just off the heels of UFC 300. What I had argued was it doesn't matter who fights Ilia Topuria next. It's the wrong time to fight him. And we all love Max. And again, watching Max kind of stretch it out like that was terrible. But this is what I mean. This is the guy of the moment. He's arguably, I don't know if he's pound for pound number 1, but he's probably no worse than 2 at this point, given what he did in 2024. We'll talk about it later. I clearly believe. I think you're a fucking rube if you think anyone other than Ilia Topuria's fighter of the year.
Let's slow down on rube. It's a debate, okay?
But if you go back in April 15th, yes, by now I think it dawned on people more so that Ilia was very good. But I made this declaration back in April following UFC 300 because as good as Max is, this is the time of Ilia Topuria. He's by far the best featherweight that we have. He is on the precipice of becoming pound for pound number 1 in the sport if he's not already there. And if you go back to the comments on IG, Brian Campbell, they were all like, Luke sucks. He doesn't know anything. This take is going to age like milk. The whole 9 yards. I went 1 by fucking 1 on those. And I was like, how'd you like my prediction now, you fucking...
Like Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison, just one by one.
Just showing up. I'm like, according to moviepoopshoot.com, it says that you didn't like this. That's what it was. This is the point I wanted to make about Ilia. It was obvious that he was good, right? Everyone could kind of see that he was good. there was denial about how good he was because of some of the legitimate questions about Max's durability. Excuse me.
About Volkanovski, yes.
About Volk's durability because he went out so easily. But the point I tried to make was it didn't matter that he came back that quickly. Obviously, it didn't help him, but no one is going to stand up to his punching power, his accuracy, and his ability to find the target. He could have taken 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 3 years, 6 years, 9 years. It didn't matter. You can see if somebody has the power and the ability, because it's not just power, the ability to put Max Holloway's lights out.
Jeez.
Volkanovski doesn't have a prayer. I saw that he was this talented a while ago. I am glad it has now dawned on the rest of some of these jabronis who are a little bit late to the party. Welcome. The water's warm.
Well, okay.
Come on
I mean,
in.
let's put a fence. Let's put a limit on the amount that you can bathe in your own urine here and celebrate.
I will
Luke.
bathe in my own urine.
Because you think just because people didn't think that Topuria would knock out Holloway, that they don't think Topuria is a great fighter.
I didn't think he would knock out
And
Holloway
that's-
either. I said he would beat
No,
Max.
but your reaction is saying that. So let me speak for the mob out there that is just eating scoops of humble pie and say, let's not take it too far. But I think it's the old Larry Merchant quote that I love to use that he said at the end of Manny Pacquiao versus Miguel Cotto that rings the most truth here. We knew Topuria had the potential to be great. He's better than we thought. That's what we saw against Holloway, because those were two. I mean, look, Max Holloway fought his ass off in rounds 1 and 2. I didn't think the judges properly fully reflected that. It may have been that flash knockdown that at the end of round 1 that upon replay was a slip. They may have ruled that a knockdown. Maybe that's why 2 of the 3 judges gave Ilia that first round. But no matter how you sliced it, Max was in that fight, landing big shots. In fact, there was a point at the start of round 3 that I was like, man, this is as beautiful a high-speed chess duel of elite striking talent that I've seen in a long time. Craft versus Craft, that was great stuff. But Ilia didn't just blow open that, fight that was on pace to be, maybe a contender for Fight of the Year just in how it was playing out, the genius of it, the speed. And Luke, he busted through. That right cross that hit Max right in the nose as a knockout punch and would ruin, 90% of active fighters. But the way that he chased him down and then looped in that left hook above the guard, yes, all the things you said about him were true. I think for a lot of us, we had to see it again. We had to see it without the potential of asterisks of maybe did Volkanovski come back too quick after being head kick KO'd, and we had to see it against Max. Look at what he did. Holy shit. You were right. Any feelings people had watching him were right. And I think the more I learn about him and the deep dive I did ahead of this, and Max even said it himself afterwards when they said, look, are you good with Ilia? And he's like, oh, I love him. I respect him. It was a lot of theater to play up this fight to make it bigger, that we saw some trash talk back and forth. But Ilia is not only the craft inside the cage, he seems like a class person outside of it, and seems like he really takes, the humility side with family and all of that super serious, and the amount of effort and care. Look, I mean, you saw that close up they did leading in with his house and that all the stuff he has in those white coat doctors and the next level that he prepares. I mean, this guy is absolutely, Luke, the real deal, and there can never be doubt anymore after this 2024 year. So, holy shit. And it wasn't just me reacting this way. Long on, Luke, can we throw to the cage side reaction? This is Volkanovski, Marab, Kyle Baralho, Rohalio.
Boys, big shots.
This is Alex thinking I might be next. Oh, do I want that next? That's the question.
Marab's at every fucking
Dude, he's
UFC
everywhere.
event. Yeah, I mean, first of all, do you remember when Max beat Justin and Ilia was cage side and everyone pretended that Ilia was scared? The most bullshit overreaction that ever lived on the internet. Guy just was normally looking around. They're like, look at this bedwetting pussy. Yeah, how did that work out for all you fucking jabronis who were doubting him? Listen,
it may have been 2 guys, to be fair.
No, it was, dude, everyone does this. Everyone goes after me. And then when I get proven wrong, they all jump on me. When I get proven right, they do this fucking bullshit game where it's like, dude, it's 5 people. Shut the fuck up. It was
Is he talking to Too Cheesy right now?
That's right. I don't want to get stabbed by Too Cheesy. No, there was people coming out of the woodwork and I understand it. There was, for people who may not have been as invested in who's the next big guy, they weren't maybe paying as close attention. Obviously, there were some questions about, is this the best Volk had to offer in terms of resistance, both physical and then whatever mental difficulties there may have been from being recently KO'd.
Sure.
I understand that. But it was over the top. However, I want to question one thing. I don't know if he's a good, humble family guy or not, Ilia Topuria. You had mentioned that Max had said he does this stuff for you guys, which is most certainly true. This kind of shit-talking thing that fighters get forced into to build a career. That is obviously true. I have no idea. But I'm going to make the same point after the fight that I made before the fight.
Sure.
Which is, I don't know what kind of person he is. He might be a milkshake duck. He might be somebody who is good or terrible. I don't know. Max?
He might say the N-word at the mic at MSG. Before...
And then all the fans will be like,
yeah.
I don't know who he is. But in terms of what he offers in the cage, it has been very clear to me for a long time. He's fucking awesome. He's awesome. And again, I didn't think he would put Max's lights out, but I did think he would beat him. And I thought that would be the thing that finally got people to say, we have to stop denying him. Also, I'd like to make one more point, if I may.
Please do.
People being like, oh, he fought an old Max. He fought an old Volkanovski. Once again, shut your whore mouth. Shut your whore mouth.
All right.
I
mean, what are we doing here?
He
Seriously.
did not fight an old Volkanovski. He did not fight a guy who was well past his prime in Max Holloway. He took the belt off of Volkanovski. And again, we have a resurgent Max Holloway here who just had the win of his, maybe not the win of his career, but one of the best wins of his career just before this up a weight class. What he probably has done is initiated their decline. That's a big difference versus getting someone who's already on the decline, being the guy that tipped them over to send them into decline. It's two different things that happen there. You got to watch fight sports long enough to know the difference. Suck it, bitches! Woo! It's a me, Mario! It's a me! I sound like Jar Jar Binks, don't I? Oh, shit! Oh, shit! It's my day. It's my fucking day.
Forget about the mileage. Not only is Max 32 still, he was one of the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters coming in. That's what made this matchup so special, and fought his ass off again over those first 2 rounds. So we were shocked. Volk was shocked sitting sideline. I want you to watch this take from Dustin Poirier. He was just as shocked on the UFC desk.
So you've been in there with Max twice. You got to be impressed, though, with the still undefeated Ilia Topuria.
I am more than impressed. I'm blown away, man. Not that I didn't think it could happen. Of course it could happen. Topuria is an incredible boxer, big power, sits down on all his punches, great technique. I just didn't think it would happen. Just look at, you saw him standing in the octagon with that rose in his hand. Now it's time to give him his flowers because he is everything he said he was. He said what he's going to do, and he went out there, and he did it. He knocked out, first man in the world to knock out a legend in Max Holloway, one of the best 45-pound fighters that's ever walked the earth.
Now, Luke, I think, to bring up what we were talking about earlier, I think this lifts Topuria as the favorite for Fighter of the Year, and I think he will end up winning Fighter of the Year. But I do want to say, even as incredible as these 2 victories were to put him in this spot, it's not a slam dunk to me, because Pereira did defend the title 3 times, twice against former champions, all 3 by finish, in a 175-day span. So I'm not going to discount that. But yes, I do believe this puts Topuria in the driver's seat. This was as big of a breakout year. I mean, you beat 2 guys in the top 10 for pound, both by vicious KO in the same year. That's huge. But what about that other thing that we touched on? Would it be acceptable, and I'm going to do mine right after this show on the train home for CBS Sports, my top 10 pound for pound, would it legitimately be acceptable to have Ilia Topuria as pound for pound number 1, considering Islam Makhachev, John Jones is going to be the last guy in that room, we already knew that, and Pereira in that mix? Could you see Topuria gaining votes for number 1 pound for pound?
By the way, someone's got to tell Matt Ryle he doesn't get the captions right on the tweets. He fucked it up, but okay.
That's an off-camera conversation.
No, I want to kill him on the air. That's actually why I said it. Shouts to Matt Ryle, who can't listen. Okay. Can we back up a point? Do you want to get into Fighter of the Year now?
I think we just
DJ Cheesy.
I think we just nailed Fighter of the Year. I was going to ask you.
We didn't. We need to have a conversation.
Well, we're going to have that conversation ad nauseum in December. But what do you got to say about it? Go ahead.
A couple of things I think are really important to describe and understand. Let me ask you a question very simply, and we don't know the answer to this, but what does your gut tell you? Could somebody back to back beat Ilia? Excuse me. Could somebody back to back beat Volk and Max coming in on short notice? Could even Ilia Topuria do it coming in on short notice? I seriously have my doubts that anybody could do that. I don't think you can actually do that. That's the first thing I just want people to start thinking about. But more to the point, people need to understand strength of schedule matters. What Poatan did is, I mean, there's no denying what he did is extremely impressive. We're talking about the upper elite here, right?
Sure.
So we're parsing whose elite was better, not is one guy good and one guy bad. But what makes Poatan close to the top of the list is that he beat more guys. He beat 3, and he did it on short notice, essentially, in a couple of those instances. But the problem is this. Again, I don't think anyone, Ilia Topuria included, could beat Max and Volk on short notice. I just don't believe that that's actually possible. But the bigger point is, those guys, like, dude, Yuri Prochazka, I know we love him. He doesn't use defense. The quality of a win when you beat a pound-for-pound guy like Max Holloway and a pound-for-pound guy like Volk, that is infinitely more difficult than, yes, beating good fighters on difficult circumstances. That's ultimately what you're arguing for Poatan. He didn't beat as good a fighter. He beat a lesser quality of fighter, but on a very difficult circumstance. He was
it's
injured,
2 of the greatest calendar years I've ever seen going head-to-head. I mean, it's insane.
That's right. So, but the point I want to make is, at the end of the day, somebody could go in there and do, again, this is my hunch, that you could go in there and obviously beat the guys that Poatan did on short notice. I don't think many people could do that. Poatan did. I just don't think it's flatly possible to take Max Holloway on short notice and KO him. I don't think it's possible to take Volkanovski on short notice and KO him. It simply cannot be done. It is a much more difficult task to accomplish what Ilia did, even if it's 2 wins versus 3. Let's be very clear
Ilia
about
gets the nod, and as close a race I've seen since they screwed over Adesanya in 2019. I agree with that. But what about this pound-for-pound top 10, as our sound guy Ken is going to come in and just get rid of that snap, crackle, and pop that's going on? Look, I'm still going to have Islam at number 1, spoiler alert. But Luke, do you think it's if I could speak like Too Cheesy would? Do you think
like
it's
Chet Hanks?
I mean, really, I'm asking you, how big is your erection? How could this man be number 1 right now based on that? Based on this year, based on where we're at right now. Islam's not overly active, is he right now? No.
He's not, although he's not been inactive. His year wasn't as good as Volk's, so for Topuria, so there's that. I'm a little hesitant to put him pound for pound number 1. I still feel like the body of work overall for Islam has been a little bit better, or at least there's just a little bit more to it. I think Ilia needs to get another win over a top contender or somebody else that the public would recognize as somebody else who is a credible challenge and or somebody on that pound for pound list in order for that to really happen. But I'll say this, he's number 2. He's number 2.
This is going to speed up UFC getting into Spain. Before the fight, Dana said we're looking at Barcelona and Madrid, and we want to be there at some point in 25. Is Ilia Topuria's next fight on Spanish soil?
I don't know how it's not, right? And other than if there's a logistical challenge, right, because they can't find the right venue. We've kind of discussed this before. I'm not saying you couldn't take Ilia Topuria to Spain, but it's a little, to Barcelona, but it's a little weird to do that. It's not quite as straightforward as some folks might think. But I do think it happens, and the basic reason is this. I know that they wanted him to fight Volk at UFC 312. That's a hell of a turnaround. I mean, it wasn't a super brutal fight, but I'm imagining he's going to want some
If I'm
recovery.
at his star level, I'm not accepting that.
Also, you have to fly to fucking Australia.
No, and like you said, I'm not going in his backyard. You know?
Devin Haney did it against Kambosos because it made sense at the time.
And because the money was coming from Australian pay-per-view.
And the belts. The guy had the belts. You wanted to go do that. There was a rematch clause. Okay, I understand that. But none of those factors are really in play here. And it seems to me, it's like, dude, you've got a guy here. Be very clear about it. This is the moment. Right now. Right now is the moment to make good on the star potential of Ilia Topuria.
That's a perfect tease to get us into the next topic, which we will in a second. But one more thing. Can you show the video of Topuria walking back with his lovely lady and the belts on his shoulder? I mentioned I'm not seeing many missteps from Topuria publicly, except for maybe that one.
Yeah, I don't like this at all.
Dump that fake-ass WWE shit in the trash. Like, I know Dana said afterwards that Dana now regrets not putting the BMF title on the line, and you definitely could have. I feel I actually align with Dana's original statement. Real title fights don't involve BMF. But I get the symbolism of what your boy's trying to say by wearing that, but it almost downgrades what was like one of the greatest breakthrough performances I've seen in a long time.
I didn't like it at all. Again, of all the missteps I've seen, this one to me was very annoying. And I know he did say nice things about Max Holloway after the fight, and I genuinely believe he does understand Max Holloway is a legitimate, credentialed opponent of the highest order. But going and wearing that belt like that when you just KO'd a guy, to me, is very disrespectful to Max Holloway.
Also, you're above that. You're a champion. Now you should be calling out the next champions, which he did, and we'll get to. But, F the BMF. You're the legitimate champion.
I didn't agree with that. It bothered me actually.
All
a
right.
little
The
bit.
idea though of maximizing the star power now of a guy who could legitimately be the successor to Conor McGregor and the lineage of sort of face of the franchise. Let's talk about topic number 2, the idea of who should not only be next for Ilia, but also for Max. We'll get to that. But although Dana White appears to be dead set on booking Alexander Volkanovski next in a title rematch for Topuria, and we'll get to the why in a second, Luke, the question I was going to ask you is it time for UFC brass to think bigger for Ilia about his next fight, considering everything I said about the next star, and consider this, in this modern era of UFC where the financial focus is different, and people can argue that's why we don't see as many crossover stars anymore. Luke, he's not only the one that breaks that mold, but he breaks the mold because he can advance into markets that they want to get in badly, like Spain, that they've never been before, maybe even Georgia, if we keep seeing more great Georgian fighters break out of there. Is it time now to look beyond the featherweight division, even though he's only one title defense in, given we've got something close to another Conor? I mean, I'm not comparing the numbers. I'm just saying we've got a spark that is as fresh and real as any star on the rise we've seen in a long time.
Can I tell you, the Conor comparisons are inevitable. It's 145. He did the belt snatching. The tattoos look similar. Like, I get the Conor comparisons. And even the one I'm about to say doesn't really make sense because of some other issues that Ilia has had. But to me, the way in which he mowed through the top of 145 the way he did, BC, it's much more John Jones than anything else. Conor never defended the 145 belt.
Nope.
This was the title defense of Ilia, and he, by the way, knocked down Max Holloway, first guy to do that, and then knocked him out, first guy to do that. He did both of those achievements. You can't lose sight of that. I really disagree that this is more Conor. To me, it's a little Conor. It's actually more.
Well, it's more just because Conor was the last, so it's like this. We're watching almost
I understand,
a handoff.
but I mean, in terms of like what he's doing to the division,
sure,
it reminds me much more of what Jones did on his rise. Now, that being said, listen. There's no denying that a Topuria versus Islam fight is wanted by the fans. And the job of any promoter is quite basic, but sometimes difficult, but basic nonetheless. Put on fights that people want to pay money to see. That's it. That's why Netflix and MVP is putting on Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. It's a stupid fight, but people want to pay money to see it, and therefore it will get made. For that reason, BC, you could make that fight. And you could also make the case, we already know that Topuria's power carries up to 55 because of the Jai Herbert fight. It's not difficult to make an argument to say, could Topuria win that? Does he have a legitimate chance at winning that? I think he does. I think most people now at this point would say he's a real threat to Islam. I don't want to see that fight next. I really disagree with that for a couple of reasons. One, are we really going to have 3 super fights for Islam Makhachev all be against 45ers?
That's a great point.
Like, I mean, that seems a little bit much to me. He got 2 Volkanovski fights, now Topuria, if they make it. Seems much more, I would rather see, if it happens, Islam Makhachev versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. That to me is a lot more fun. I don't know if that fight makes sense either.
You mean provided Shavkat beats Bilal?
Again, provided we get to a place where Shavkat is the champion. So that's the first thing I'd say. How many times is he going to fight 45ers before we've had enough? Second of all, guys, I think people are very much discounting how tough the 45 contenders are. We'll see what happens between Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling. That might not be the sexiest fight, whoever wins that one, to get to Topuria, but that's a tough fight either way.
Sure.
More to the point, you got Volk waiting in the wings. More to the point, Diego Lopez has a date with Destiny too. And I don't think he's quite the fighter that Ilia Topuria is, but he doesn't have to be. He's dangerous as shit everywhere. That to me,
and he has 2 fan bases in a sense because he's Brazilian, but he fights out of and represents
and
Mexico.
They can put that fight on any kind of Mexican holiday because they both speak Spanish. Obviously, one's Brazilian and lives in Mexico, so he's semi-adopted. Ilya's not.
Ilya's been adopted too. Okay.
Well, they're not going to adopt the Spanish guy, but he is capable of engaging with Latin American media in a way that can boost profiles. That, to me, is the fight to make. You could do the Volk one if you want to do again. I'm not really sure what the appetite is now that you've seen what he can do to Max Holloway, but the idea that we're just going to like fuck off on all these like really good featherweight contenders, and frankly, let's be clear, really good featherweight fights, important fights. Like when you accept the belt, what you are saying is I'm going to give this next contender a shot at it by being active. I'm going to keep the division in motion. And right now, BC, would you not agree? It's like it's all jumbled at the top. You got Max, you got Lopez, you got again this semi-ish number 1 contenderish fight between Sterling and Evloev, and all of those guys are dangerous. All of those guys are good. All of those fights are good. What is the rush exactly?
Because it's rare to get somebody that's this red hot with this much buzz who can be potentially both things at once. Your biggest face in the franchise, biggest pay-per-view star, and your best fighter at the same time. This is a spirit of something coming that we haven't felt since Conor. And what did Conor do as soon as he knocked out Jose Aldo? He was looking north business-wise. Let's move up. Let's fight RDA next. A fight that didn't happen, but that was the direction he went. Ended up with 2 Nate Diaz fights. But Luke, it goes against everything I want in a sense, because I'm sick of every time somebody wins a title, the next conversation is should they move up right away and try to become champ, because it becomes almost like one championship, where that's probably more gimmick heavy to have interesting main events, but they just constantly throw their champions against one another. But I just think Ilia is of that rare mix where when I see him talking trash to Conor McGregor, and we're going to show that in a second, I'm like, I kind of want some stupid crossover fight like that. I kind of want to see the fan in me, not the journalist in me, not anything like that. The fan in me right now is so blown away at what Ilia just did that my first thought is, can he do that against Islam? And it goes against everything that we don't want, which is what you said, Makhachev fighting only people moving up in weight, champion versus champion unnecessarily. But when you've got a star of this potential and magnitude, I not only rush him to Spain, I'm literally thinking now, Luke Thomas, what is the biggest B-side I can put him in with? Even if UFC doesn't think like that anymore, even if it's not about one big pay-per-view overachieving and carrying them financially for 6 months, it's not about that. That's not the model anymore. But that is what sparks interest in casual fans and sparks a new revolution. They have to realize what they have here in this potential star. I just think if anyone would break, there'd be reason to break all the rules. It's your guy right now. It is.
I think you put Ilia, I guess Volk's going to compete in Sydney, right? At 312.
Well, I got sound to give you pieces on that if you want. Let's go first to Dana White on why Volk should be next.
Volkanovski is one of those guys. We're not going to say no to Volkanovski. He's been that guy for us anytime we needed him. You know, he was on this run like Adesanya and like Alex is on right now when things don't go our way and you got to call a guy. Volkanovski's always been that guy. He really was. And, you know, for him to ask for nobody, I don't think anybody's in this room going, oh, this is ridiculous or crazy. And who wouldn't want to see it again?
So there's Dana saying, let's go with the company man, Volkanovski, who deserves it. But Volk's got a caveat at why it might not be next. Let's listen.
How would you feel about going to Spain, waiting for the fight in Spain and all of his fans over there?
Look, man, I'll be honest. I love Sydney. You know, I'm like, I want to fight in Sydney, but Madrid sounds good too. As long as I'm not waiting too long, that's the big problem for me. I just want to, I would love for him to have his moment in Spain and and fight there and that. Hopefully we're not waiting years for it, that's the only problem. If they could get that done as soon as possible, you know what I mean, mate, he deserves it.
Vivir mi vida, la 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 la.
So Luke, he's saying, yeah, but he's also giving you that caveat of he doesn't want to wait too long, Volk. He wants to just get back and be active. He's not going to wait for Spain to open up and pull a Michael Chandler and sit out.
Which I understand.
But Ilia, though, doesn't seem to be talking a lot about Volk. Here's Ilia on Makhachev.
Thank you. Just over here, Ilia. In a hypothetical fight against Islam, how do you see that fight going? If it goes to the ground, do you feel confident that you could out-grapple him, or would you try to keep it standing?
My mindset is always the same. I'm always looking to achieve things that no one could. So someone could submit him. I will be the first one to submit him.
Any specific submission?
Now I heard some love from some idiots, but it's gonna happen.
Dude, I'm just telling you, when I hear him say, I'll be the first to submit Islam, the fan of me wants to see that right now, even if it breaks all the rules. But there's the other player involved, and that is Conor McGregor, who put out a bunch of tweets about that, and then Brett Okamoto told Ilia about it. Here's his interesting reaction.
Did you know he tweeted about you? No. Yeah. Conor McGregor wrote, good little fighter, too small for anything substantial. He was getting chewed up in there.
I don't know what to say. F him. I'm telling you, f him. Yeah. He's a fake. He fakes the comeback every time. Yeah. He insults everyone in the UFC. He's like, I don't care about anyone. I don't respect anyone. Bro, you're f***ing sick. You have some problems to fix in your mind, you know. You need to take some classes of respect to have to trade to the people, because you're gonna end up really, really bad. When you follow this kind of values in your life, you're gonna end up really bad. So ask to God, don't cross the paths with me, never ever, because I'm gonna f you up whenever I'm gonna see you a little.
So Luke, basically Topuria's like, F off McGregor. It seems like obviously he'd be willing to do that. We don't do that fight next, right? We don't do that fight.
I think
that's not the fight.
Let's just be very clear. Ilia Topuria smashes Conor McGregor at this stage.
Oh,
even
yes.
at 145.
But it's like if you want to make somebody from an overnight star into a quadruple global star. So that TV's on, and
that's the one that's making noise.
We're hearing the echo off of it.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So you say let's stay in this division.
I would like to stop playing. Did you see what Conor McGregor said, game?
Okay.
Because it just seems deeply
Then I agree.
irrelevant.
Diego Lopez, I want much more than a Volk rematch. I don't think Volk is going to improve on that. I don't
think he does either. He could make it maybe go a little bit longer depending on how things go. But, dude, and we didn't really talk about it. It's not just a function of, like, is Ilia powerful? Yes, of course. He has tremendous knockout power. But it's a little bit more than that. He has a very, very patient but unique ability to problem solve based on what you're giving him, establish patterns, change patterns. He's an accurate puncher. But the thing I want to point, like, how do you get someone who's accurate and powerful? How do you make good use of that? You have to have them with a decent fight IQ, and they have to be able to problem solve based on what they've been given. And it doesn't matter whether it's Max. It doesn't matter whether it's Volkanovski. He problem solves his way into landing things of significance. None of it is by accident. None of it is fortuitous, although there was a little bit of that because of the way Max defended. But in general, he finds targets and lands on them cleanly because he is able to do that with solutions he's concocted in the middle of the fight.
That's why I want to see him put on his back by somebody like Makhachev and see him work his way out of that. I mean, I know we got to wait. We got to take our time. We got to see what happens here. It seems Dana's going to do Volk anyway, but will they make Ilia go to Australia, and will he accept it?
I don't think he accepts that in Australia.
Okay.
Like, you're going to make Ilia go all the way. I mean, I'm usually the guy that's like, when fighters are like, I'm the one who calls the shots now. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you're absolutely not. However, I do feel like Ilia is probably, I mean, because he can unlock a new market, and he just did what seemed to me almost the impossible basically over the weekend. I feel like they're not going to be too upset if he's like, hey, I'm not going to fucking Australia. But what they might do is they might make it an interim title for whoever headlines that Volk card. They might do that.
Oh, so Volk versus Diego Lopez for the interim title?
Right, which doesn't make sense in the sense that, you know, your champion is not in recess.
That's a number one
something,
contender fight, baby.
But it's basically a glorified number one contender, yes.
There's one other name that wants to be in the sweepstakes. Let's see the tweet here from the living legend himself. Dustin Poirier says, I want Max or Ilia next. Luke, would you agree that it would make a lot more sense potentially for Dustin to fight Max next? I mean, he's not in the Ilia conversation, right?
It'd be weird for Ilia to go up to 55 and fight
in a non-title
Dustin.
fight. Yeah, so let's not do
I don't quite
that.
understand that.
Let's hear from Max Holloway, and we'll talk about what could be next for him. He believes, Luke, a third fight with Poirier is the perfect fight, considering Dustin's talking about it being a retirement fight.
It's not Dustin Poirier's last fight, but I think if you can be his last fight and get one back, it would be sad, but at the same time, you know, a win for you.
Hey, that'd be nice. The Diamond, sign me up, bro. I love that guy. I got nothing but respect for the guy, but he is up 2-0 against my ass, and I don't have the best luck against people who's 2-0 against me, so I guess I got to try it again.
So, Luke, I want to ask you this. Max said afterwards in the cage that, you know, he'll be back. And look, for the reinventions he's had, the renaissances, it's hard to doubt that, even with this devastating loss. Do you want to see Max stay in contention at 145, play the pay-per-view main event BMF route, or move up to lightweight full-time? And I'll include the Poirier fight as a possibility in this discussion.
I think Max has some interesting questions to ask himself here at this point, because here's where he seems to be to me. I do not need to see him at 45 anymore. He can make that cut, right? He can do it. Like, I didn't have any concerns that he would somehow not make weight for this fight. You knew he would. But, you know, what toll it exacts on him, he'll never tell us, but I have a feeling it's probably significant. And I would like to see him go to 55. In particular, because he won the BMF belt at 55, I feel like it should be defended at 55.
Fresh matchups.
Fresh matchups as well. Or in this particular case, not a fresh matchup, but a great matchup that you can just, it's like Pacquiao Marquez.
Yes.
You can just run it back a number of times and who gives a shit.
Literally put him against all those aging all-action lightweight big names. Chandler Gaethje again, Poirier.
But here's the thing for Max I hope that he considers, and I know it's probably like, the last thing he wants to hear is
you?
All of my Ilia boosterisms.
You dressed like Mario with a giant Topuria boner. That's the last person he wants to hear.
I know, but in all seriousness, again, it is impossible to root against Max Holloway. It's impossible to not like him. And so what I really hope that he and his team consider is, I don't think he's done. That's really not what I'm saying. But what I am concerned about, BC, is, especially if he goes to 55 and you're going to take on some even harder hitters at that point. Again, his durability will be less compromised because of the weight cut, but I'm a little bit concerned that he can go on a place where he can win and lose and stay in big fights, but he's absorbed a lot of significant strikes in his
damn right he has.
Career. He's been doing this for a very long time. And so I hope what he has in mind is a clear goal about what is left and that it is attainable, and that if he gets to a place where it's pretty clear that attaining that goal isn't possible, that he hangs it up. So very clear what I'm saying. Not saying he's done, but I am saying I don't know if he's too far from that if what he cares about is preserving any kind of long-term health. I have watched Max hand out beatings, and I've watched Max take them. And I've never quite seen the one like he got on Saturday, but I've seen some. The second fight against Poirier was really, really bad.
Yes.
He survived because he's Max, but this is what I mean. I don't have an appetite to see a bunch of those.
You don't have an appetite for destruction, is really where you're going.
I don't mind him being in tough competitive fights. I mean, this was not. Neither guy was taking a beating in this one until Ilia landed a devastating right. If the fight had looked the way it had looked for the first 2.5 rounds, you can fight a lot of those.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But what I'm not interested in seeing is more of him stretched out. What I'm not interested in seeing is a fight where he gets a 55 dominant puncher where he can't. I mean, maybe this has changed, but in that fight with Poirier, it was just a lot of abuse over many rounds he was taking. I feel like he's accomplished so much. Let's be very clear about it. He's an automatic Hall of Famer. He's an automatic all-time great. He's a credit to the fight game. One of the few guys you can just actually believe is a good dude in real life. Who was with me when we saw Max at his hotel room before the fight with Volk, the 276 fight? I don't know if anybody here was that. I think Gaff was with me. Gaff was with me. Dude, he could not have been more accommodating. He had his whole team in the suite. They were all sleeping there. His kid was there. His wife was there. Like, everybody. Max is such a good dude. I don't mind him continuing if he's got a plan and something he can execute. I don't want to see him just fight for fighting's sake.
And I don't want to necessarily see him against Poirier after he's lost the first two and coming off of a knockout loss. So, Luke, the fight to make is easy. Conor versus Max Part 2. BMF title on the line.
I'd take that.
Max coming off of a knockout loss against a bigger fighter. Let's do this, right? You're going to have to fight at some bigger 55? Catch weight or whatever Conor can make. You know what I mean? This is provided Conor can stop this 365-day streak that we've talked about.
The Cal Ripken, Lou Gehrig streak.
I don't know if he can, but this is really the perfect matchup for both. But that's just me talking there. Let's go to topic number 3. Speaking of dominant performances, good Lord. Remember when I picked Robert Whittaker by knockout because I thought Khamzat just couldn't get his ish together? I'll take that one. Humble pie. Yeah, indeed. Khamzat silenced critics in a big way by breaking Robert Whittaker's jaw and getting an early tap out in round 1 after taking him down 14 seconds into it. We never got to see what bloody Knuckles robbed there. What are they? What's his nickname that he hates?
Bobby Knuckles.
Bobby Knuckles. He doesn't like that though. Every time
I know he's like, I'm the Reaper. I'm like,
there we go. Okay, but Luke, although Chimaev entered as the number 13th ranked middleweight, was this performance against a former champion and living legend dominant enough that you would sign off on him cutting the line even past Sean Strickland to get the next shot at Dricus du Plessis for the title?
Yes. So you talked me in. It's my fault because I agreed. I'm not blaming you, but you did talk. You convincingly talked me into picking Whittaker instead of Khamzat on Friday's show, which blew up in both of our faces.
Luckily, it didn't blow up in my wallet, but yeah, blew up in our faces.
Blew up in our faces. It was as one-sided as can be. Listen, it's not like the argument is not Khamzat has a great case and Strickland doesn't. That's really not the argument. Strickland had a very close fight with him. Had a rebound fight against Paulo Costa that was also not very interesting, but he won it. And again, if you want to go back and watch the fight between DDP and Strickland, it's not hard to score 3 rounds for Strickland. You can do it. If the basic question, can you find 3 rounds for him? Yes, you can.
Yes.
You absolutely can. So in that case, he's got a strong argument. However, Khamzat just blew past Robert Whittaker in a way that no one has. Not Wonderboy Thompson, which was all the way back at 170.
Not even DDP in his destruction
not even
of him.
He stopped him in the first fight, and
Sure.
it didn't look quite like this. He ran through him. He ran through him like diarrhea. I mean, it was just. I'm being
slippery
facetious.
when wet, right?
I'm being facetious, but Whittaker offered almost no real resistance. I mean, he did a little bit to stay alive, but he just got crushed in the. It was the Tiananmen Square tank versus the guy, in front of him.
Wow, you got a lot of these today. You're like Moronello over here.
Okay, but how do you describe somebody who is an all-time great at middleweight, a former champion, looking like Khamzat was fighting you or me out there?
Yeah.
I mean, he I'll say this quite honestly, and I don't mean it just because his teeth got messed up. Even before we saw that Robert Whittaker, Khamzat made him unrecognizable. He made him absolutely unrecognizable in how he just bodied him. And you've got this guy now. I don't know what his visa issues are this week. He
told Shaq that it's.
Yeah, I mean, fighters say lots of things.
Dana's also confirmed that. Dana doesn't say.
Did he? Did he confirm it? He didn't really confirm it to me. But things could have changed recently. And again, depending on who wins the presidential election next week, there could be a big change that happens anyway. So there are some questions about where any potential fight with Khamzat would be and on what schedule. And that does create some complications. But just to fight for fight, Khamzat versus DDP is a fresh matchup.
Oh, yeah.
It's a highly interesting matchup. And what I want to really get back to is, did you get clear answers about some of the questions that we had around Khamzat? No, you didn't.
No, but isn't it more exciting when you don't? When somebody can get all the way to the title level without having answered all those questions, like Conor on that rise?
This is what I mean. It's like, I often make this point where you'll see someone come off the regional scene and they'll have 7 fights and it's all first-round KOs. And someone will be like, isn't this guy great? And you'll be like, yes, he's obviously great, but he hasn't fought anybody. And yes, some of Khamzat fights, like the Gilbert fight and the Kamaru fight, they went the distance. But in general, he's beating guys, former champions, all-time greats in his weight class, like they're nothing. It's a fresh matchup. It's an interesting challenge. And DDP looks to me like he might have something for him that can get us some answers in that 3rd, 4th, potentially 5th round.
To me, it's actually a slam dunk, even though that's tough on Sean Strickland for everything you said. But we already almost missed out on this phenomenon that is Khamzat when he's healthy. I don't know if we have to put him in that category of motivated BJ and 2013 Belfort. Like, Luke, I can't really explain how Khamzat can be so up and down all the time with health, with everything, and then just turn up and absolutely kick the shit out of people, regardless of their status or resume or history, like he does. But he does. You take advantage of that. This guy is one of the rare guys on the roster that you're like, pay-per-view headliner will carry numbers every time. Luke, he moves numbers on everything he touches. Remember we did that Gilbert Burns interview ahead of that fight, and that thing did monster traffic? It did that because of Chimaev. He's that bad guy at the end of the movie who can, if you can put a belt around him in any division, you do that. Now is the time. Nobody expected that. He ran right through him. Let's hear from a doctor. This is David Abbasi, an orthopedic surgeon, breaking down just what happened there to Whittaker.
If you guys weren't already terrified of this guy, Khamzat Chimaev, you could see what he did to Robert Whittaker's lower teeth and mandible. A lot of confusion over the early tap by Robert Whittaker right off the rear naked choke, but DC then shows this photograph of the aftermath of what happened to Robert Whittaker's. You can see those teeth are basically floating back there. Our lower jawline is composed of this bone called the mandible, and likely he has a fracture, probably 2 fracture lines, which causes this piece to then go floating. You can see the forearms there below basically cracking and destroying that jaw backwards. This is an unstable mandible fracture which will require fixation with plates and screws, where they'll make an incision right here, peel back that lip, and then realign the bones and fix it with plates and screws. All the best to Robert Whittaker, but dang, Chimaev is an animal.
Now, Luke, you would tell me of a Whittaker interview where he would say that was some injury he had as a child, right?
So someone caught him outside the hotel in Abu Dhabi, and what he basically said was he didn't elaborate, but he had some kind of an injury when he was a kid, and it was basically fine until the Drickus fight. Drickus fucked him up too, and I guess whatever they had done to hold it together was quite literally just holding it together, and now it's all just
crazy.
fucked up.
By the way,
yeah.
when you shot your snot rockets, did you hit my
No, I
my
shot this
stuff
way. I
down?
had to shoot a booger out of my nose. My wife gets so bitter when I just do this on the ground.
Yeah,
She goes,
would,
Cochino.
You're Cochino as shit right now. Look, this Chimaev finish got everybody excited, including Abdu Rozik, by the way, but including Dana White, who came running to Chimaev cage side here. There's Rozik. By the way, he was in the same building as Hasbulla, and they didn't fight to the death.
Yeah, I mean, they're a bunch of frauds, those two.
Did you see Dana run him down and hug him? Dana knows what he has here in this guy, Luke.
Khamzat is special.
But
He's
let me ask you that question that I couldn't
By the
answer
way,
before.
2 of his cornermen were Ramzan Kadyrov's kids.
And that's confirmed? That's a true fact?
Oh, yeah. Like, dude, you've got a guy who is and I've seen people be like, dude, Ramzan's just an ordinary run-of-the-mill politician.
He's just a normal guy,
I'm
like
guys,
Turkey.
does your mayor round up people and slaughter them and exile them from the city through force of military action? Is he banned from the U.S. Treasury from doing business in the country, or are you just a fucking idiot who says random things on Twitter?
Okay, before I carry on, though, what is your confidence considering Chimaev's up and down last few years with inactivity, injuries, illnesses, potential visa issues, everything that we talk about, the weight miss against Nate, all the inconsistencies, his son's surgery of late, which seemed to really, pull him in emotionally and challenge him. Is this something that he can sustain? Him being at his very best, is it sustainable in the UFC right now?
Again, we didn't get answers to all of the questions, critical questions that we need, but I felt like something similar with Ilia Topuria. If you're going to do something with this guy,
do it.
Do it now.
Light the match. We'll see what happens next. Hey, let's hear from Chimaev. He was asked how his grappling would fare against the champion, Duplessis.
To get your thoughts on Dricus as a champion, his run so far, and what do you make of his grappling?
What do you think, guys? How I done with this guy, Rob? How he done? Rob took him down. So if Rob took him down, so there is salam alaikum.
Luke, if they made that fight next, is this type of one-way finish potentially in play for Chimaev against DDP? I'm not asking you to predict who wins, but is this possible? Can he reproduce what he did to Whittaker to DDP, considering when they fought, Whittaker took him down and they sort of traded big grappling moments?
Again, we just didn't get answers to all of these questions.
Yeah, but grappling-wise, could he hold that dominance over DDP like that?
I think he can do that to anybody. But if Whittaker doesn't have that injury, how much longer could he have maintained?
Yeah,
That's a question you have to ask yourself. And 2, does DDP have that? I don't know. But dude, DDP, we've said it before. He even said it. Is there a method to his madness? Not really. But he finds ways to win. Also, how about this? Khamzat could end up beating DDP, and then there's the Bo Nickel factor, which he's still far away. We don't really know where that is. But you would at least think like he's got something for him in that department. However, Chimaev has got big power as well. But he's eventually going to find someone who can take him past the 3rd round. And what that looks like is honestly anybody's guess.
We're going to talk about stupid break glass fights for Topuria, given his stardom, and talking about Conor. Then I guess we should talk about this absurd fight that I never considered until now. Here's Chimaev talking about Poatan, Luke.
Title run looking like? Do you want to clear out the middleweight division, or would you prefer to sort of go up to light heavyweight and challenge Alex Pereira?
Bro, I'm talking about 3 belts from a long time ago, so of course I want to go up. But what Dana White, what the UFC wants, I don't know, man. So if they gives me, first I have in my weight class, need to take the belt, so then I gonna think about it as well.
I mean, we can't put him in a light heavyweight title fight when he hasn't fought for the middleweight title yet, but I hadn't even thought of that. Do you love his just no hesitation? I will take that guy down too and beat the shit out of him.
I mean,
because that's a style contrast. That is insane.
I know. Of course, it'd be interesting.
Damn.
But one thing at a time.
Video game
One thing
stuff.
at a time. But here's the question. If he doesn't end up fighting DDP, what do you do with Khamzat? Who does he fight in that instance? Long Island Luke. I'm Dana White right now, and I say, okay, we're going to do Sean DDP 2. Tell me who you think Khamzat should fight next. What do you say?
Say it.
Bo Nickel. after he beats Paul Craig. Yeah.
Izzy, dude. Izzy's out there.
No, the Izzy. See,
Because
if I'm
there's
Dana
a
White,
Shara Bullet thing there too.
if I'm Dana White, I'm giving Khamzat the title shot right now, and I'm doing Izzy Sean 2 in Sydney.
That is the right call. That's the right call right there.
That's an interesting
Long
one.
Island Luke is damn right.
That's a great call.
Because Strickland Adesanya, it could be the co-main for that. It could also be its own, in my opinion, it could be almost its own pay-per-view main event without a title. I know that people don't love that.
Does Sean take that? A co-main? I mean, if it's 5 rounds, but no pay-per-view point? Well, he wouldn't get it anyway because he's another champion, but...
If they say, dude, you're not getting the title shot, he'll take it. Stay in the mix.
That is interesting. Let's see Sean's tweet about the idea of Chimaev cutting him in line. Understand one thing, I am next in line. It has been said, it's been written. January, February, me and DDP are scrapping. Go back to Chechnya and wait a few months. Wait, sorry, UAE, you're not allowed in Chechnya. But hey, crypto scams while you wait. End quote. Those were the thoughts of Sean Strickland, not necessarily
I mean,
mine.
listen,
Like,
he
look,
says a lot of shit that's insane. Every once in a while, he'll have a banger out there. Every once in a while.
honest question, though. Is Tony Hinchcliffe one N-word away from being added to the Golden Hour podcast? I mean, that'd be a Murderer's Row lineup, right? That'd be unbelievable, right? All right. Yeah, there you go. So interesting stuff in the middleweight.
I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, in the
I don't
middleweight
know.
division. Hey, let's move on from here because we do
Did you
have
watch
to...
their fight companion with Eddie Bravo and Schaub? And
I did not
Callan?
watch it.
No?
I did not. Because that Hungry Wolf took over the Reddit spaces after what he said last night.
It didn't make a lot of I didn't see a lot of clips come out of it.
Yeah, I wasn't focused on it at that time, but I'd have to get back to you. Let's go to topic number 4, which is Magomed Ankalaev, Shara Bullet, and the rest of UFC 308. Luke, we talked about it coming in. UFC challenged Magomed Ankalaev that if you want the next shot at Poatan, even though you kind of already deserved it last time, you're going to have to be exciting against Alexander Rakic. Well, it was a hard-fought, competitive 3-round unanimous decision for Ankalaev. Dana would say afterwards that he thinks that's enough. Luke Thomas, is that enough to drop this charade and finally get Poatan versus Ankalaev?
Yes. Yes. I mean, the reality is Ankalaev, I think it's probably fair to say Ankalaev didn't necessarily wow anybody on Saturday, but the response would be, number one, he didn't really need to wow anyone. He could have already gotten a title shot based on what he had done even prior to UFC 308. And then you add in that he beat a quality light heavyweight in Alexander Rakic without much issue, I think is a fair way to put it. It was competitive, but not, you never thought Ankalaev was in trouble. You never thought Ankalaev had no answer. It was just kind of one guy was ahead of the other one, and it sort of stayed that way for the vast majority of it. So that's the guy that's deserving, and I think that's pretty fair. However, the question that I would ask back to UBC, and it was the one that I was asking myself, was, when you were watching this, did you see anyone there who you thought gave real problems to Alex Pereira? Which is not the reason to grant or not grant a title shot, but just a separate question.
Yeah, no.
Did you see that?
I didn't, but also Alexander Rakic, I think, even with 3 consecutive losses, is truly elite. I mean, Long Island Luke, were you making some backdoor argument that you thought Rakic should have got the decision?
Yeah, he won round 1 on all 3 judges' scorecards. I thought maybe one of those other rounds could have gone.
I can't go that far. It was competitive, but to answer your question, no, it didn't scream that. But in some ways, even with the UFC's warning, this was really only going to be about survive in advance, get the win no matter what. To Ankalaev's credit, he did push the pace. He was constantly looking to go forward. It wasn't overly exciting, in my opinion, because Rakic is a tough ass out who was in there trying just as hard and badly needed a win. It's just, this guy's unbeaten. I know there's draws and no contest in there, but he's unbeaten in like 13 or 14 fights in a row now. Hasn't lost since that UFC debut to Paul Craig.
Right.
Let's go. It's Ankalaev time. Now,
he had the draw against Blachowicz, which was such a bad performance.
And he's been
on
a
his
donk
part.
at times. And do I think that, look, I don't think it's going to be exciting for him in any fight unless it's against somebody that's really making it an action fight. I just think that's kind of how he is, Luke, okay? I think he is a threat for Poatan, but I'm starting to come off the idea, maybe because Brent Brookhouse won't stop shaming me, that this is the trap fight, at the end of it. I just want to see it.
You think Ankalaev's the trap fight?
No, he's against me or anyone trying to frame it as, because he's just not wrestling anymore. Now, I think in this fight, it worked out good that he didn't wrestle. He gave himself the best chance to win over the bosses. Let's hear from that boss first. Let's hear Dana White on this.
To go back to Ankalaev, he promised coming into this fight he wouldn't shoot a single takedown. He didn't do it. Is this enough to get Alex Pereira his title fight? It's the second longest unbeaten streak in the history of this division behind John Jones.
I would have to say yes.
Wow, very subtle there from Dana. No wasted words, just right to the point. I appreciate that. It is. It's time. We're going to get that fight. We'll see what happens. Now, look, Ankalaev Do you think he hasn't wrestled in a long time, to be very fair. He hasn't attempted more than, 2 takedowns in a long time,
I haven't
or
seen
even
stats,
one takedown.
but I can't remember the last time.
Will he try that aggressively against Pereira, and is that the right game plan once we get there?
I think eventually he will. I just don't know how quickly. Like Chimaev, the bell rings, and he's shot out of a cannon.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Just right across. Ankalaev, I feel like will take his time, which, by the way, is fine. Taking your time, not like aggressively going after the takedown, then walking into something is probably a great idea. At the same time, that's not the question. The question is he going to wrestle an appropriate amount where he might have an advantage to put someone like Pereira on the defense? And again, this is the thing I was watching. Did he put in a competent, fine performance against Rakic? Yes. It wasn't really impressive. It didn't really show me a lot that I could hang my hat on and be like, oh, that's something he's going to definitely give Poatan some problems with.
I mean, he can look dominant against, sometimes mid-tier or BB plus level guys, but I don't think he's going to have those moments against Poatan. You got to be perfect against Poatan. You make that one mistake. And
I don't think you have to be perfect, but you have to put him on the defense. And most guys want to play the 50-50 game with him. And I just don't understand why they keep... Khalil Rountree is different because his 50-50 shot was also in the striking. And for a while, that was going quite well for him. He just couldn't sustain it. But I just don't understand what it would be for a guy like Ankalaev. He doesn't have Khalil's speed or explosivity, knockout power. You got to mix it up. We'll see.
It's going to be an interesting fight. I do look forward to it because I want to see someone try to take down Pereira.
Ankalaev,
don't you want to see that? You want to see him have to deal with that.
Ankalaev does have skills to, at a bare minimum, give Poatan problems, and I think beat him.
Definitely could beat him, yes.
Whether he can put it all together in a single performance, I don't know. But to your point, he's earned it, and that's why you got to make the fight.
That's it. Luke, from the standpoint of viral KOs, just how good was Shara Bullet Magomedov's double spinning back fist KO when he was blocked by Armen Petrosyan, yet spun off the other shoulder to deliver that? I mean, is that going to be added to that UFC highlight reel that plays with Baba O'Reilly by the Who when you're sitting in the arena and they're getting you all fired up before the start of the
I'll say this.
card?
I've been hard on Shara because I thought some of the hype was a little bit much. I still think some of the hype doesn't quite match exactly where he's at.
I mean, he gets hit.
He gets hit, and he was fighting a guy. I mean, dude, Armen Petrosyan was driving me nuts in this fight. He does something I call jousting, where if you look at like Max or Ilia, they're feinting a lot, right? They're giving you a look to get a reaction, and they're changing it up. Fucking Armen Petrosyan just walks right in. I call it jousting, where they wait a second, and then they go. They don't ever set it up. And so eventually, to his credit, Shara was waiting on it, and then timing him every single time.
His right hands, when he times you, are big. Like, that's a legitimate punch.
If you set it up for him, he's got the counter fighting in that particular case to do really well. That double spinning back fist was fucking awesome.
It was
you can't
insane.
You can't. So you can say whatever else you want about the guy. That was sick, and I give him credit for it. That's an all-time highlight reel.
He's very unproven despite 4-0, although he does have a couple pretty good wins in this Bruno Silva in his debut, one of them. But now at 30 years old, we're not talking about give this guy a ranking. He's talking about Adesanya. He called him out in the cage afterwards, and here is Shara Bullet saying a little bit more about Adesanya at the post-presser.
You called out Israel Adesanya and declared yourself the best striker in the division. I'm curious, when you break down Israel, do you see a lot of holes and techniques that you could take advantage of? And I would assume if you fought him, it would be a 5-round main event, possibly a fight night. Obviously, the UFC is going to Saudi Arabia next year. Is that a date that you have circled as a possible matchup against Israel if they do offer it to you?
Я гнался за Израиля Адесanya еще в Китае, когда дрался.
I used to chase Israel Adesanya when he fought kickboxing in China. I was fighting kickboxing in China too. Now that he switched to MMA, and now that I'm here, I'm ready to capture all the land. I'm ready to fight him, and if the possibility presents itself, I'm ready to fight him in Macau, Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter.
Did they ever offer you a fight against Israel when you were both kickboxing?
Я уже побеждал его спарринг-партнера и друга.
Yeah. I beat his friend and sparring partner Blood Diamond in China, and I was ready to fight him. Israel is very popular in China, but then he switched to MMA and signed to UFC, and now I'm here too.
Do you think Israel Adesanya would accept a fight with you right now, or do you think you're going to have to win some more?
I'm
in no rush. I'm not running in front of the train. The only way for Israel Adesanya to avoid the fight with me is to retire.
I mean, those are strong words, Luke, but should we even be talking about this fight when this guy's got 4 fights? Is he that big enough of a potential breakout star where anyone in the matchup room is even going to have a conversation about this?
He's good for fun fights. He's good for exciting fights at a bare minimum. Whether he can climb the actual ranks by beating like really good ranked guys, I don't know yet.
But like slow the roll on.
But like also to me, it's like KO of Max has proven a lot more in this division, and he also called out Izzy. I could live. I mean, I'm not saying that's the fight to make, but I could live with that fight. That fight makes a little bit more sense to me given where they are. I don't hate a fight between Shara Bullet and Izzy, but I don't.
Wouldn't Izzy just donk him up with the experience and the?
He might. He could wrestle him too. By the way, like maybe he took down Poatan. Don't forget that. So there's.
You're a wrestler now.
Well, he did.
He did.
So this is what I mean. I'll just say this about Shara Bullet. He is still untested against guys who aren't donks.
I need to see it. I need to see a tough ass fight for him against a non-donk.
Yes,
okay?
I need to see somebody.
No more Oleg Shashuks. No more of that.
Yeah, guys who have like one or two good things that they do, but they got a lot of problems. Give me someone who's got fewer problems. Then we'll talk.
I'm with you on that one here. Here's Izzy's reaction watching at home, by the way, live.
Did he dismiss it?
Keep my name out your fucking. What the fuck did I do? Like, why you say fuck me for? I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
I mean, Izzy's having fun with it. I don't think he took it all that serious.
I don't think he took it that serious.
This guy needs more wins than that.
Yeah.
Luke, you called it as a potential banger alert.
I sure did.
Matush Rebetsky, if I got that wrong.
They called it like Rombetsky.
Yeah, Rombetsky. That's it, against the other guy, Magomed
Oralbai. Just call him Oralbai.
Dude, they beat the living crap. It was kind of a stupid fight, but it was also like a blood and guts war.
That fight was fucking incredible. And I thought for sure Oralbai was done in that third.
Dude, I thought one of them was going to like have cardiac arrest and die in the cage. It was like getting to that level.
I could not believe. I mean, tough as old shoe leather Oralbai was, surviving. First of all, his whole shit was closed before the end of at the end of the first. And then to get dropped as he did in the third and just completely marked up and fucked up, and then wrestling back to his feet, I was like, dude, no. I got to say this, Rombetsky, back-to-back fights, he had Carlos Diego Ferreira, I think, in the fight before this, and then this one, they're giving that guy fucking, they're taking years off of his life.
Dude, I don't
before he's even fighting contenders.
I don't even know how old he is, but he's probably going to retire in 3 years because of fights like this. That's just insane. They both pushed so far past the limits to the point where they're just like standing there with their arms
I didn't
hanging,
even see. Did
trying
they get
to wing
any
them at
bonuses?
each other. I hope they get all the bonuses.
They got fight of the night, I believe.
They did. Okay, good.
Damn, they should get. I wish if you reach a certain threshold of an action fight that night it's like here's 500,000 each. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that should be the only.
They did 300K at. Remember, Max got 600K at UFC 300 just on bonuses.
And I've heard Rashad talk about the Nelk Boys bag with $1.5 million in there. Daniel Cormier's talked about that. There's a lot of that going around. I don't know if it's all.
No, it turns out that when they actually have to turn that into the IRS and
I don't know if it's
we
all
can see their
tax
documents. It's actually not that much.
I don't know. I don't think it's all IRS. I mean, we're talking about like a casino business. They're
You'd be accusing
cash-friendly.
them of crimes at that point. Yeah.
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I'll pull back on that, Luke. One more for you. They didn't give Jeff Neal and RDA the featured prelim spot like I thought they would. It turned out to be a good thing, although RDA is going to have to nurse off that injury. They gave it to Turkish heavyweight Ibo Aslan, and they really hyped it up as a Dana White, if you don't know, now you know type of fight against Rafael Cerqueira. 51 seconds later, Ibo was screaming into the microphone that he's coming on or for everyone. Luke, that was impressive as shit. How seriously should we be taking this guy at light heavyweight right now?
Not very. Let's wait a little while. He was fighting Donk. I mean, dude.
But that's a featured Donk fight, though.
It's a featured Donk fight. He's got big power, obviously. I've been waiting for someone from Turkey to kind of break through.
Is this part of them looking at, we can get into that market with him, so let's feature him?
I don't know how big he is in Turkey. Obviously, Gökhan Saki was a big player for that. He fought in glory in Turkey. I believe he was on that Turkish show that they had. That was the same show where Spong broke his shin. You remember that? That was one of the few. It was one of the first few times in like the modern combat sports era where someone broke their shin in a fight. In any case, I've been kind of waiting for like a Turkish breakout fighter. We'll see. We'll see if Ibo is. By the way, Eric Raskin is like, question from a washed old guy who's out of touch with the current references and is especially clueless about all things hip hop. Who is BC dressed as? And I told him DJ Cheesy.
No, too cheesy. That's who I am.
Too cheesy.
That shit is too cheesy. All right.
I don't know if what we're doing is racist, but
no, this is celebrating West Coast '90s Caucasian hip hop. You know what I mean? It's a celebration.
The prime of your life.
Yeah, really. Right. All right. Anyone else? No one else, right? You don't want to talk about anybody else on this card. I mean, Long Island Luke. You think Ibo's going to start knocking out real hammers or no?
Nah, His other win was the Pleasure Man, not the best.
Okay, it's a great nickname.
Dude, I really hate that guy's nickname. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy. Hold on, let me look at this results thing here real quick, if I may. Oh, Chris Barnett fucking his leg up.
Yeah, I hate to see
very
that.
unfortunate. Also, how did you score that Fakretdinov and Leal fight?
You know, I was kind of watching it with half eye on it, half folding laundry, so I don't really have a say in that. But they said Fakretdinov didn't deserve that, but then he went off on the announcers after the fight.
He did. Also, Rafael Dos Anjos getting fucked up with an injury.
Yeah,
kind of sucks.
I mean, that's better than getting knocked out cold, but like, I mean, those guys will fight forever. I don't know, these Brazilian legends, man, they can just keep going.
You're fighting
you know?
at 40 years old, 170
Against
and below.
hammers.
That's tough.
Yes.
I'll just say this. I thought the combination of Cormier, Anik, and Felder, I heard and read the fewest amounts of complaints about UFC commentary.
Oh, yeah.
In the longest time I can remember. And I honestly believe we know that Anik is good. I think DC can be good. I think Felder is one of the best guys that they've got. That combination.
Felder knows how to be the chameleon of the broad. Every broadcast, if you're going to do a 3-man, there needs to be somebody that understands I'm playing kind of more than one role at the same time.
Yeah.
But I've got to really sell for others, compliment this, add on this. He's playing that glue role.
He's
perfect.
awesome at that job, and that's a good trio that they got there.
Yeah, keep that great work up. Too bad they have to call like 15 fights over 8 hours. That's a tough job. It really is.
I hope they get paid well for it.
Me too. Hey, let's go to topic number 5, and it came out from after UFC 308 when Dana White did his post-fight
By the way,
press
did you see this
conference.
revelation from Average Joe Art? So he did one of the posters for UFC for UFC 308.
And it was tremendous.
He just tweeted us. He actually tried to add the BMF belt to the poster, and they made him take it out.
I saw the original rough draft. Yes, I know what's going on.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right, very
no,
good.
Tremendous work by him. But yeah, they didn't want to play up that. And I thought that was...
That's fine because it wasn't on the line. I understand
That's
that.
true. All right. Luke, topic number 5 is what we heard from Dana afterwards. And most particularly the escalation of this never-ending feud with Francis Ngannou. So, Luke, I want to first play before I tee you up here. This was Francis's response that came out a couple days ago. It was in response to the last time Dana dunked on Francis at after Power Slap this week in Abu Dhabi. Let's listen.
I think Dana is trying to make things up to like buy a good face in the position that he have lost. Dana have lost this in this situation, and the only thing is that he cannot stand it. Like, bro, I won everything. I left, like, it's been, almost 2 years? And the guy is still out there. He can't live without it. He can't handle me. Like, regardless of everything that happened, I'm not about him. I went out there, did a fight, great fight for my son, memory. But the guy can't stand. I don't know what is his problem, man. And he can make everything up as he want. That's his problem. He needs to make a peace with himself. You could have just said we didn't find a agreement or something. We couldn't we couldn't come to a deal. But good luck to him. That's it. Good for him. And we continue our life. What's the problem here? But I think the problem is that he can handle this loss. He been praying for I'm sure he been praying for my downfall. And then I'm just keep doing my thing, rising. Since I left the UFC, in any senses, I'm more than what I was. And which money he's talking about? The money that he owes me? They say, we're going to back pay you from the money that we owe you from the Stipe and Senegal fight. Or that, they never back pay me. Now I have made more money than I would have ever made in the UFC. I would say maybe twice the money that I could have ever made in my entire UFC career if I had continued in the UFC. I don't know. But either way, if I have made less money, if I'm not making less money, enough money that I could have made in the UFC, that would be my problem. Why is it so pissed about me not making that much money? Like, come on, man. Live your life.
So that was the setup.
I like the end there. Live your life.
That was the setup. And I know anytime I post anything about Twitter, it was like, well, they keep asking him about it. Well, they asked Dana about it again after the fights on Saturday. And here's his response.
Francis isn't a good guy. He plays the good guy. I don't understand the language. And, so he seems like he's a nice guy. He's not. And he's just not a guy that I wanted to be in business with. We'll never be in business together. Yeah. We don't like each other. He pulled some shit before the first Stipe fight, and then Stipe beat the shit out of him. Great night. He actually, he owes me money because we had to watch that fight with him and the Black Beast. He should actually pay me back for that fight. Me praying for it, trust me, I don't think about Francis that much. The only one who's praying for his demise is probably the PFL because they signed a shitty contract with a guy that doesn't deliver any numbers and ticket sales or pay-per-views. So,
Luke, here's the question. Is there something about their business relationship that we still don't know about that went down? Or is what Dana is doing making him the most petty liar and poor sport that we've ever seen in combat sports? Because we're going now to the this guy's a bad guy line.
I mean, there's just so many levels to this that I don't even really understand. It's like, why does Dana White want us to view him as a strong judge of character? I think he's a decent fight promoter.
I mean, you could say the greatest of all time, and you wouldn't be like insane.
I think that's a lot. I don't really buy that. But
I think he's in that conversation.
I don't. But I do think that he is reasonably talented at the job, for sure. But nevertheless, I don't look at fight promoters as in any particular. I mean, name one fight promoter that you can think of who's a strong judge of character. Like, are these people Mother Teresa all of a sudden? Or are you guys that do business with, dictatorial religious monarchies and have very questionable political affiliations? And I could go on down the list, to say nothing of his own personal indiscretions. Like, he's not a judge of character that is worth taking seriously even for a second. So putting that aside, again, you're right. Like, they're asking him questions and he's reacting to it. It's not like he's just going out of his way to make conversation about it. But the way in which he does react to them makes it seem to me, and again, I'm reading from afar, I don't know the answer to that, but that he's wounded by what Francis did, that he is still angry at what Francis
is it because
did.
somebody beat the system? Somebody beat the game? Is because he's acting like the warden in Shawshank when he reveals and finds the hole in the wall, right?
Well, here's what you can't do. I mean, yes, Francis did get viciously knocked out by Anthony Joshua, but like, imagine if your argument was that, I mean, just understand something, right? Francis has won. Francis has incontestably done not just really well with the choices he made after leaving the UFC. Not perfect. He did get KO'd. That was bad. But he got paid an enormous sum of money for that.
Sure.
He overperformed against Tyson Fury, and he just put Renan Ferreira to bed.
Got an insane contract with the PFL.
And more to the point, like, PFL doesn't do numbers, but to the extent that they do anything, it's only because Francis is breathing oxygen into what they're doing. The point I wanted to make was, if Francis was a spectacular failure, Dana White would be able to make an argument about Francis being a spectacular failure. Now, he's trying and being like, well, he doesn't do numbers for the PFL, but I'm here to tell you, like, I've seen what they've done, at least on the media side, and you're right, like, PFL doesn't match UFC numbers. That is true. That is very true. But to the extent that PFL does anything beyond their numbers, their standard baseline, it's because Francis is injecting life.
No doubt.
And so my point is, I go back to what Francis said. It's like, why do you say such venomous things about a guy who you appear to be glad he's gone, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how shouldn't you be relieved that you're gone? That he's gone. Shouldn't you be relieved that you're no longer encumbered by his presence or business entanglements? And also, it's like, remember he said he was going to cut him. It's like, dude, you let Sam Alvey hang around a long time and you were going to cut Francis after two.
Right.
Like, there's just a lot of things that don't hold up to scrutiny, other than he's still really pissed about what Francis has done. And by the way, even that is okay.
But it's like, what is he pissed about? He's pissed, in my opinion, that somebody was willing to put their career on the line and say, I'm worth this much and I'm going to stand here for it. Like, normally they can talk people out of that by talking bad about them and saying, this guy's scared, he doesn't want to accept this fight. And then eventually people get back in line. Francis never really got back in line except for to play the system and beat the system the hardest way possible by beating Gane and unifying the title with one working knee or whatever happened there.
Clearly, like, Francis's ability to do what he's done and then succeed at it by and large is just a source of discomfort.
Doesn't it feel like, though, that Dana White's just not used to having real negotiations in there? Because it seems like all these managers are afraid and want to keep their relationship with UFC.
BC, you know this. How many times have you talked to somebody who is either a promoter or at least on the promoter side, and they had a negotiation with a fighter, and they lament things that they had to give up, and they lament things that we lost out on this deal or whatever. In a sport where the negotiating environment is a little bit more even, you'll hear promoters talk about having to, take an L here, and we had to eat shit on this particular provision and whatnot. The UFC operates in an environment where that is so infrequent that by the time that it actually happens, or in this particular case, someone just moved on and got a better offer, they have difficulty processing it.
Yeah, they do. And I think that's why he's got to make him seem like a bad guy forever.
And dude, maybe, by the way, hold on just 1 second. Like, I don't think you can take Dana White's assessment of character as ironclad. I don't know if Francis is or isn't a bad guy, but from what I can tell from the business side of things, what has he done that has, like, from what we can tell, again, based on the information that we have, what has he done that has screamed to you unethical, that you hear stories behind the scenes about what a terrible guy he is?
No, the only thing I get is that he actually aggressively negotiates and had a manager that kind of got driven out of the scene because of that.
Name a manager that the UFC had to negotiate with, and that manager played hardball with them and didn't get called a scumbag.
Yes.
Holly Holm's boxing manager got called a scumbag. Francis's manager, Markel, got called a scumbag. Anybody who negotiates hard against the UFC, whether they win or they don't, they get labeled as someone who is a malcontent.
Right. Or their fighter is scared.
Because the entire orientation of the argument is everything we do is right, and to the extent you push back on that, you're the malcontent.
Right.
In this entire operation, rather than we have our own agency, not like William Morris. I mean, as people, we have our own agency, we have our own interests, and they don't necessarily align. We're trying to get to a place where those could be more, fairly accommodated.
But my final question on this is: do you think Dana actually believes his BS? Though, is it? And I'll give you the reason why he might. Because in his mind, at the end, it's only about money. So when they gave Francis that huge offer for the one-night payday against John, but then the long extended contract at a lower rate, in his mind, it's like, you're holding me up for big money, so here's your big purse. Francis knew he could get more and was worth more, and that's why he is now. So do you think in Dana's mind, he can justify saying that Francis is scared of John because we gave you this chance to fight him for what would have been heavyweight record money, and you said no?
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable conclusion. I just think that they feel, again, you go back to what Dana White said about Judge Boulware. I know there was a potential settlement that was reached, but remember when he rejected it for the proposed settlement, when it was rejected the second time, Dana White spoke to Kevin Iole and said, I think it's got to be personal, right, what this guy is doing.
Or like stuff him in a locker or something, yeah.
And it's like, how do you come to that conclusion based on like the overwhelming mountain of evidence that they, A, are a monopoly or a monopsony, and that they use that market power to suppress wages? Like, let's be clear about something. The evidence in that case is overwhelming. It's not debatable. It's very, very, very obvious. The only way you can come to that conclusion, BC, is if you decide that your behavior is above reproach. And so the only explanation that could be there is someone wants to make it personal.
Yeah.
Here we go back to that again.
It makes sense.
He doesn't like the business choices that someone else made, so it has to become personal. There can't be anything that they have done that they have to reflect on as bad or not as good, or even just, not as good of an offer.
Yeah.
It can't be that. It has to be that. He has a character flaw. He made a bad choice. He's a bad guy, and we're the shining example of all things.
Well, Luke, maybe you're just a hater, and maybe you're just one of those media members who doesn't appreciate good things. Let's hear from a media member who tasted and seen if Power Slap is worth their time.
Hi, first of all, I owe you an apology. I was one of the people that hated Power Slap. I did the commentary in Arabic for them last time, and my God, you're 100% right. We are all wrong. I respect you so much for, seriously, that Power Slap
Thank
is
you,
amazing.
sir.
It's like an
No,
MMA.
it's a different experience live.
Especially, it's
Yeah.
totally different.
Thank you.
Now, for the next year, here for Abu Dhabi and Saudi, I know there.
I can't wait for you to finally own up. No, we already had the Topuria segment earlier. I mean, obviously here, right?
Got me. That was good. That was good.
If you thought it could get if you thought it could get worse in MMA media's performance on Saturday in relation to Dana, it could. Here's the video.
Yep.
I don't have a question, but I just really want to appreciate what you did to the sport, and I want you to know that even after 100 or 150 years, your name will always be there. So my request is, never stop what you're doing. Keep making this as big as you can, and never retire. Always stay there. You are not allowed to retire.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Luke, he is not allowed to. I mean, at least all that fellatio happened after a great card. I mean, they do give Abu Dhabi the loaded lineup. That was a very good card. Very
UFC's
good card.
product is dynamic. That card, we haven't made one complaint about this card. I mean, the
Fantastic
judging or whatever.
card.
The card was awesome. The UFC did a great job. Again, commentary crew, awesome. Fighters did
They
a great job.
promoted it well, everything.
Promoted it. It was awesome. Those media people truly look up the definition of pathetic, like the actual technical term. That's one of the most pathetic things. Dude, MMA media is fucking dead. It's dead.
Boxing media is
dead.
Sub-dead. I mean, boxing media is
Boxing media is not as bad, actually. I don't think it's as bad. It's bad. It's bad.
Not that version of bad, but it's different kinds of bad.
I've been to a lot of boxing pressers. I've never seen that.
Yeah, that's pretty
I've
damn
seen
bad.
people in boxing pressers like big up one of the fighters. I've seen that, but to the fucking promoter?
Why didn't you just reach around him? That's really my question right there.
I mean, that is truly one of the saddest things I mean, MMA media is it's over. It's over.
It's over, Luke.
It doesn't exist.
Try to take us all the way. We're gonna have Bam Rodriguez in just a few moments to get pumped up.
Why don't we like my belly here? Why can't we just start and have you seen his shit and come back?
I mean, what do you think about that, Long Island Luke? If we're
could we do that?
I mean, we could do whatever you guys want.
Because again, I don't know if he's an MMA fighter. He's not. He's a boxer. But what I'm saying is, does he have MMA fighter tendencies, which is to book an interview and then just not show up or show up extremely late?
Do you think we'll start the MK curse of people that were supposed to be interviewed by us, but then they missed it, and then something bad happened to them? Like,
well, this one got offered to us. We didn't go out and get it.
No, I'm saying, could that become a thing? Like, should Randy watch himself? That's really what I'm listening.
I'm not mad. Bam
I mean, Max just got KO'd. You know what I mean?
If Bam doesn't post, then it's fine. Like, it is what it is. But
all right. Well, here's what I did over the weekend, guys. I scoured the globe, the highs and lows, the good, the bad, the ugly, in between, combat sports and beyond. This is my ish. I hope you've seen it. Let's watch it.
Okay,
we're gonna hold that.
Actually, we now have to hold it because now he's here.
So let me.
So hold on. Why don't you do this for the audience?
Yes,
because we just had this big UFC orgy.
We did.
Tell the folks about Bam Rodriguez. Tell the folks.
Bam Rodriguez is an absolute badass from San Antonio, Texas. 24 years old, a 2-division title holder at 115, 118 in those lower weight classes. But what he did recently in going in there against the legend Juan Francisco Estrada and stopping him, he's not just a young fighter on the rise. He's one of the top 10 pound for pound best in this game today. And I mean, when you talk about the plus minus rating, his plus minus is better than Artur Beterbiev and only bested by Shakur Stevenson, according to CompuBox right now, which means the amount of punches you land as compared to the punches landed against you ultimately. An absolute technician that fights in an aggressive all-action style. He's coming the freak on. And
it's what I said before. I don't know who these guys are at home. We are they family guys or not? I don't know. He seems like a chill, cool guy.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out, put all that to the side. Do you like technical action fighters?
Yes.
Who get the job done? Bam Rodriguez is your guy.
Whose defensive numbers are like through the roof style, for that action style.
He got dropped against Estrada.
Yes.
And then came back and put it on him. And by the way, it was kind of like a flash thing because he was smiling when the ref was counting. But then he put it on him, stopping in the 9th round, I believe.
He stopped him in the 7th round. And he's the WBC super flyweight title holder, formerly the unified flyweight champion. And on November 9th, a very creative DAZN doubleheader in Philadelphia. Long Island Luke, can you drop that lower third there on the screen? In Philadelphia, when Jaron Boots Ennis returns to his home city in the main event in this largely unnecessary mandatory rematch against Karen Chukadzian. But in that co-main event, we're going to get Jesse Bam Rodriguez back against 42-4-1 Pedro Guevara. That will be November 9th on DAZN in Philadelphia. Guevara as Mrs. Thomas.
Let's go back to mi esposa. Mira.
That's just that means
Mira,
spouse.
Escucha.
Pedro Guevara. Long Island Luke, do we have the young gentleman here?
1 second, guys.
All right, we're lining him up right now. Appreciate the patience here for one of boxing's biggest rising stars. I mean, when you're 24 and you're already knocking out legends and won titles in multiple divisions, and you're already on the pound for pound list, that's
you're doing something right.
That's aggressive.
And by the way, again,
that's ruthless aggression.
November 9th. Is this a DAZN pay-per-view?
I don't believe it is. I could be told I'm wrong.
And by the way, DAZN had like a 50% off
Black Friday
sale, so you could get that for obviously half off.
You don't even have to go to a store and get assaulted.
However, he's on the same, as you've been indicating, he's on the same card as Boots.
Yes.
So you get a Boots Bam Philly special.
All right, let's bring him in right now. He is the WBC super flyweight title holder, San Antonio's finest. Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Jesse, thank you for joining Morning Combat. I know we look like assholes right now, but I want you to know, Jesse, that this is a Halloween episode. But do I dress like this in my real life?
No.
You best believe Too Cheesy does, okay?
Yeah,
that's
you
what I'm
look- you look
talking.
like a
That's what I'm
fucking idiot,
talking
yeah.
about, Bam, okay? Bam, great to have you on the show today. We're, of course, fired up about your return November 9th. But, dude, 24 years old, like, you're doing very big shit. It's hard to get attention in the weight classes on a global scale that you're in, and you have. Why? Why has the Bam experience for boxing been through the roof to start your career?
Yeah, I think it's just the way I've been performing, the way I've been handling my opponents, especially, they're legends of the sport. So the way I've been able to take them out says a lot. And I think that's why they like to watch my fights.
But look, when we talk about, I think if people wouldn't know you, they'd look at some of your wins and go, okay, this guy's all-action fighter. Let's go out there. He'll eat 3 punches to land 1. There is this technician element to you. Was that always the plan from the beginning, that you were going to bring this high level of craft into a place where maybe fans would cheer just as much if you went out there blood and guts all the time?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I feel like I just kind of fell into my my style. Before, as an amateur, I was more of a come forward fighter, like, the other opponents in my weight class. But like I said, I grew into my style, and I think people appreciate that a lot.
Bam, from what I understand, as you indicated, you had a more of a come forward style in the amateurs, and then it's become a lot slicker, and you've added a whole bunch of dynamic elements to your game, including some of the stuff, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, from Lomachenko. What did you pick up from Lomachenko?
The footwork. As an amateur, I was watching Lomachenko a lot. Then I just went to the gym one day, started working on the angles myself on the bag, and they just came naturally. And when I teamed up with Robert, I feel like he took that to a whole nother level.
Help us understand what that means, though. Like, obviously, you were able to, pivot around, setting new angles, and that, if you've already got a high-action, high-volume style, now you've got even more openings to land on guys. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, exactly. Just you hit them from one angle, and the next second you're at another angle, and they don't expect the punch to come from that angle. So it's a very hard style to deal with. But like I said, naturally it came to me, so I'm blessed for that.
Favorite other boxer to watch, just as a fan, nothing else? Is it Lomachenko? Let me ask this: who beyond Lomachenko do you like to watch?
I mean, there's a lot of fighters I like to watch, but Boots Ennis is one of the top that I do like to watch, just because he's a switch hitter, and I mean, his fights are exciting. So I'm a big fan of Boots, and to share a car with him, it's an honor.
Bam, we've all got tattoos here. I wanted to see the one on the side of your face. Can you walk us through what you have there? That's sick.
Right here, I have a dagger, and then on this side, I have an M. It stands for Mila. That's my daughter. She's 6 months now, so that's why I got that.
Hey, congratulations. Are you sleeping at all?
Yeah, I sleep through the night. My girlfriend is the one that wakes up with her, so I'm blessed to have her as well.
Oh, you got one of those arrangements. Lucky man.
Yeah.
Bam, you talked about being on the same card as Boots. It's unique to get 2 big stars. I mean, we saw that recently with Tank Davis and David Benavidez sharing a pay-per-view. How did this come together, and were you all in from the start on this?
Honestly, as far as it coming together, I don't know how it happened. I was supposed to rematch Guy Estrada, I believe, in San Antonio, but he put out of that, so I guess it just kind of fell into place. And then I had to face my mandatory Pedro Guevara, and then I guess Boots had November 9th originally, so I guess they just kind of threw me on there, but it works out. Like you said, we're both exciting fighters, and it'll be a great night of boxing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you took on the legend Juan Francisco Estrada in June, and you stopped him in the 7th round. There was that mandatory part of the contract that you said you thought he was going to activate. What do you think happened with his decision to not go in this direction a second time?
Man, I don't know. I mean, this whole time I really thought we were going to rematch. I was back home waiting for about a month and a half, 2 months, and from one day to the next, it was just he put out of the fight. I was already training for the rematch, and then I got news that he put out. I didn't even know I was in a fight still, but then I got word that I had to face my mandatory, so that's why I'm here in training camp ready for November 9th.
I mean, what was it like going in the ring with Estrada? Because this was your ultimate testing moment for a lot of us as fans. Okay, let's see on this level. Was that wild for you so early into your career to be in there against a guy I'm sure you watched when you were a kid on the come up?
When I got in the ring with Estrada, it wasn't really of a shock. It was more of a shock when I faced Carlos Cuadras, just because it was a short notice, and I was watching Carlos Cuadras as an amateur as well. So to share the ring with him, it was a bit crazy. And after that, I fought Rung Visai, and I kind of just got used to being in the ring with these guys. So when I went in there with Estrada, it was just any other fight, really.
Any other fight against Rung Visai, against Estrada? Well, if we're going to continue this trend, and this is not a disrespect to Pedro Guevara, we'll get to him for a second, but sometimes I'll read headlines and I'm like, did I just read that Chocolatito isn't going to retire and he doesn't want to retire until he fights Bam Rodriguez? How realistic is this super fight to happening for you in the near future?
I mean, it's a fight that's definitely realistic, but the way the news got out was kind of fake news. The thing my coach Robert said is, if the unification fights don't come after this fight, then a Chocolatito fight does interest us if it interests them as well. So it kind of just got mixed up, but it is a huge possibility of us fighting, I believe.
I mean, that's some legend stuff right there. The former pound for pound king, but he still got it. What would a fight between the two of you look like?
Fireworks. I actually sparred him like 3 times for the Estrada camp. And man, those sparring were one of the best of my whole career. So a fight with us would be fireworks, and I think the fans would appreciate it.
All right, you got this mandatory opponent coming up November 9th in Philly, like we talked about. Boots Ennis in the main event, but you're going to be taking on Pedro Guevara, a veteran of this game. What are you looking for across the ring from you? What do you have to watch out for against this cat?
Really, I got to watch out for everything. I said it before, Pedro Guevara, he has nothing to lose and everything to gain. This is a huge opportunity for him to change his life, change his career. So I know he's going to come 100%. He's going to want to take what I have, but I'm at the top of my game right now, and I really don't see anybody beating me anytime soon.
Now listen, Bam, you're all action, all excitement, and you're just doing great things. Worried about the Philly fans, though, right? These are not the most hospitable, friendly fans in sports. I mean, any concerns that,
Bam, they threw batteries at Santa Claus once.
I mean, they're just not the nicest folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really worried about that. I feel like the fans are going to appreciate my style. I have a few fans on the East Coast, so I think come November 9th, I have a lot more.
Yeah, Philly is real boxing fans, though.
That's true.
They're gonna buy it.
No, let me get one more in.
Sure.
Now you're the king of San Antonio, right, Bam? That's your born and raised the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Somebody told me this. Tell me if it's true. Best Tex-Mex in San Antonio, mi tierra. Is that true?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's definitely up there, top 10.
Okay. Give me the Bam Rodriguez special. If someone's going to go to San Antonio, what's the one place they got to go to get the San Antonio experience?
Man, there's a lot of restaurants you can go to in San Antonio. Most of them they pretty much taste the same, but I feel like if you're going to get a really good plate, you got to go on the west side.
That's some good food there.
Have you done that? The Tex-Mex thing?
I've been to San Antonio a bunch. All the food's great. I haven't gone to like the real local places though, because I'm just some wandering gringo with face tats.
A buddy of mine was like, mi tierra, that's the place to go.
Bam, how did you get that nickname, by the way?
I got it when I was a baby. It started off as Bambino, like the Great Bambino.
Sure.
And then my parents just kind of cut it short to Bambi when I was a little older. But then I outgrew that as well, so they just cut it to Bam. And ever since then, that's pretty much my name. No one even knows my real name, really, so I would consider Bam my real name.
I mean, was this the type of thing where you becoming sort of a boxing phenom, was it by accident, or do you come from a boxing household where this was the plan from the beginning?
No, man. Really, I really don't have any boxing in my family except my brother. I think maybe my grandma's brothers were boxers, but I'm not too sure on that. But I mean, before I started boxing, I really didn't care for it. I didn't watch it at all. And one day, I just decided to tag along with my brother, and the rest is history.
Now, can you fill in this backstory? Is it true that you dropped out of school in 7th grade to train boxing full time? Is that a true fact?
Yeah, I started homeschooling in 7th grade, and then I kind of just I stopped going to that because it was boring, and I wanted to pursue my career. And here I am now. It kind of worked out.
I think you made the right choice.
So hold on, do you ever look back and say, I don't know, listen, you're killing the game. Like, it's not one of those things, but do you ever look back and say, damn, I wish I would have gone to prom or something, like some kind of like high school experience or something like that?
Yeah, actually I do. I mean, don't get me wrong, high school seems fun, but who knows if I did go to school where my career would be now. So it's kind of hard to tell. I don't really mind missing out on that. Like I said, it all worked out, so I'm blessed to be where I am at.
Well, Bam, it might be surreal with your name showing up in the top 10 pound for pound list, but it's deserved. But when you look at the landscape globally right now, and you can make arguments probably for Usyk, for Boots, for Inoue. I mean, Canelo's still around. Who is your pound-for-pound king at the moment, and why?
My pound-for-pound king right now is, I would say, Usyk, just because, I mean, he beat Fury. Fury was undefeated. They're heavyweights, so that's, top of the top. And I feel like he kind of dominated Fury in a way, so that's why he's my pound-for-pound king right now.
Yeah, we'll see that rematch in December, and obviously Beterbiev is there as well. But November 9th, Saturday, Philadelphia. Oh, please, hit him up. Hit him up.
If it ever happens, and it probably won't, but if it does, Canelo and Crawford, how does that one look?
Oh, that's a tough fight. Canelo has a size advantage, but Crawford has a skill like no other. So I feel like it's a 50-50 fight really at the end of the day. But if they were to fight, I would favor Crawford.
Wow.
Skills win fights, BC.
Let me add on this. Bam, how high in weight do you see yourself going?
I would say 126, 130.
That, in a way, hangs around in those areas.
Yeah.
And by the way, as I understand it, you're like, correct me if I'm wrong, your like favorite vacation spot is Japan. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, my past 2 fights I went right after, so I would say myself that's my favorite.
Well, if
spot.
he hasn't been to the Tokyo Dome, Luke, maybe we can.
I understand,
book
but I was going to
something,
ask, how do you get through a flight to Japan? What's the Bam Rodriguez? I got to have this so that this 18+ hour flight is not so bad.
Man, I watch movies. I watch movies on the TV that they have on the airplane, and that's pretty much it.
He just dreams about taking over the world, okay? Because he's on that way.
On his way.
We'll see him November 9th on DAZN, the co-main event to Duran Boots. And it's his Philly comeback. You've got Pedro Guevara. That is Bam Rodriguez. Thank you so much for the time. We love watching you. We can't wait to see what happens.
Thank you, Bam. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
All right, we'll catch him on DAZN there November 9th.
He's soft-spoken. I cannot overstate this. If you haven't seen him fight, this motherfucker is a terrifying fighter.
Yes, he's
terrifying.
He's a skilled dog, which is a dangerous combination. Good timing there as we brought him in, Long Island Luke. Thanks for your swift feet right there. But we were going to talk about that Shiite, so why don't we get back into it? This is Have You Seen This Shit? Hooah! What an efficient show today, right? This is epic. Right?
I just want everyone to know I'm right about Topuria being fighter of the year, and if you have it for Poatan, it's only because you are wrong.
Because you don't love women.
No, it's just because you're wrong.
Oh, all right, there we go. Hey, this week in UFC, we no longer can show UFC footage, apparently, Luke. So
they love shutting down MK.
They
by
do.
the way, hold on. Someone asked me this question. I don't know the answer to it. Someone was saying, like, the guys at Between the Links, they can show the stuff that we used to show without any issue.
BTL, Mike Heck.
And BTL. And they don't get their channel shut down. And I'm like, they asked me, like, why can't MK do that? And I don't know the answer to that.
Does that website have a highlight package that they pay the UFC for?
I don't know.
Interesting
I
stuff.
genuinely don't know.
Sometimes, Luke, big fights are so big that you have to find people that didn't watch it live and get to be the one that break the news, break the result to them. Topuria versus Holloway was that type of fight, Luke, as you can see right here. And I think
it's not even a 9/11 joke, but you shoehorn 9/11 into it. That's fucking great.
You got to be careful for the toques, Luke, to check the candy. You never know. There's weirdos out there.
Parents, please check your kids. Like, it's kind of blocked there. This Halloween, I just found Carla Esparza versus Rose Namajunas 2 in my son's candy bar. Be safe. That was a bad fight.
Luke, I teased it earlier in the week, but guess who been lurking in those Hawk Tua DMs?
You said a UFC fighter, right? What is that fella's name that's been messaging me all week? The O'Malley boy.
Sean? Sugar Sean? That's my cousin.
Wait, that's your cousin?
No, but I tell people it is.
I
should get hooked up. Yeah, right?
I can put you on. He has a kid, don't he?
Was he DMing?
He's got an open marriage,
Dude, he's
don't
so
he?
nice. He's just conversating with me. He's like, what are you doing?
No,
I was
wasn't he like-
nothing. I had like 5 missed calls from him, and I was like, what the fuck?
calling you?
Yeah, like on Instagram. I didn't even know you could fucking do that.
Okay.
He's had some kind of hip surgery.
Oh, maybe he's
so
off
he's
the perks. Bored and lonely.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
and
he
off
did
the
mention
perks.
that.
Someone just shoot me in the face now with a
Some guys have all the luck, Luke.
12 gauge
you know?
shotgun, please.
Wow, that was. What would it take for you to listen to that whole podcast? Does this involve a syringe of the bubonic plague at all inserted into your
I don't know if
eyeballs?
there's enough. I can't. And by the way, it's like a wildly popular podcast. Well, society is cooked. It's over for us.
I like talking more about fighters' DMs, particularly Brian Ortega.
opening up a DM with T-City.
Look, I gave you a fucking chance. I saw that you had posted saying you were going through some shit, getting surgery or whatever the fuck, nigga. Time's up now, bitch.
This is part 2.
Tell me you fucking love me, or I'ma fly out to wherever the fuck you is right now, T-City, and I'ma diddle your little ass, boy. You ain't never been in a fucking cage with a nigga like me before. I'ma pull down them briefs and...
Apologies for the double N-word there, Luke. I didn't realize that happened, but
it's the favorite word of Tony Hinchcliffe, apparently.
What did you think about those DMs, Luke?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
For MMA fans in person are spirited, but relatively normal, actually. No, dude, we're not normal.
Okay.
I mean, I'm saying
Look at my face.
Yeah, no,
right?
we're the strangest people on earth. I'm actually saying that they're more normal than you and me. What I'm saying is online MMA fans, it's Lord of the Flies up in there.
Good Lord. Power Slap was in Abu Dhabi, and John Anik was sitting, I want to say cage side, slap side? Slap side.
His friend. And how about that crew, John Anik? Pounding a beer.
Save some for me.
That line is fucking his game up.
DC.
And what is DC doing?
We got to get DC up on stage.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, he took that. Anik took that shit home.
John Anik.
What else is there to do at a Power Slap event? What? Watch fucking truckers hit each other
Luke,
with their.
That guy, Dana was right. That journalist told you. Okay. You haven't tried it yet. You haven't. You got to taste it.
God,
okay.
I can't believe it. I went in person and it was.
Luke,
truckers slapping each other.
Before Ilia knocked out Max, he had to sit down with DC, and DC cut right to the chase here.
Hey, look, I gotta ask you a question. I just gotta know, dog. Seriously, I gotta know, dog. Bro, like, you have a your family has money. Your family is rich, right? Like, because you built a $2 million gym in your house. You just won the belt. How could you have that much money?
Because I do stuff as part of the UFC. I do many things.
Dude, how much
outside
money?
of that.
When I first saw you, I thought you looked rich. You gotta look rich a little bit, but like now?
No.
Damn, champ.
Probably I'm wearing cheaper clothes than you. Probably.
No. This is nice clothes.
That was pretty direct. Luke, do you think he's hinting at organized crime? What are we talking about here?
I'm guessing he has a lot of sponsorships in Spain.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay. He does have the most ridiculous in-home setup ever.
He has a nice one. I don't know if it's the most... Dude, like some of these NFL players, even like LeBron's situation...
Yeah.
Is
that is stupid money right there. All right, let's get back into this, Luke. We're going to add somebody to the Lifting Gloves Hall of Fame. It's Teofimo Lopez. Luke, your thoughts?
No, and they're not even lifting gloves. Dude, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. This does
It looks fine to me. I mean, he's ripped, you know.
Again,
he didn't say the N-word in this video. He's going great, right?
He did call Crawford a monkey this week. That was incredible.
All right.
But here's what I want to make. First of all, you don't need the gloves unless you have super knurling on there. That's really. Also, what is the fucking point of taking your feet off of the ground because it makes it harder to bench press, but it doesn't actually increase the load on your chest?
It's load management.
Right. If you actually want to get stronger, you have to put on greater emphasis with the weight, which you need to be rooted into the ground for. It's a complete waste of your fucking time.
Yeah, shoot the load. Luke, you've often said, parents, if you care about your children, don't bring them to NFL games. Here's why.
About 4:15, I wake up, I brush my teeth, I scratch my balls. And you know what I do after that? I have a captain and black coffee. Because you know what I am? I'm a savage. Savages drink. We drink.
And that guy threw batteries at Santa Claus later in the afternoon. Yeah,
I'm like, yes, welcome to Philadelphia.
Yes, wow.
That's what you get.
Well, Luke, NFL games are not safe, but the World Series isn't that safe either. Watch this couple celebrate that Freddie Freeman Grand Slam walk-off in Game 1. I mean,
if somebody has her number and can
okay.
provide that to me.
Sir, that is wow. That is. I don't know if children can be around that. See, the thing is, Southern California sports fans, I found this out on the Masvidal Diaz tour.
Yeah.
They're about that life.
I've heard that like there's a segment of Dodgers fans that are absolute animals.
And here's part of them. They broke out after Game 2, Luke. Watch this. Focus to the right here on a potential slam coming your way. And we'll let the boys be boys. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Nice mat return.
They don't F around, as I saw when Jorge Masvidal at that presser was like, come on. And people tried to climb the stage to fight him. Like they had a line of people ready to climb the stage to fight him. Well, if you want to see better fights, you got to go to Dodgers games. You got to continue to go. Here's one from last year, Luke, that might fit the bill. I want you to watch a few things here. One,
could she be more sunburnt?
One, that guy just poured a full beer over some chick's head. So then we escalate.
Ooh, oh!
Now there's going to be an oil change check here after the screen goes black that I really need you to watch closely. Let's watch it now. Sir, this is Wendy's here. Did you see that guy?
Are we just looking at sexual assault? What are we doing
I think this is don't take your kids to sporting events, Luke, under any circumstance.
I mean, this is the Dodgers, but in general, football games. Why would you ever go to a football game? Why?
I wouldn't. Luke, you know what's getting out of control? I don't even know if we should show them these knockout memes. We respect these fighters too much to show this stuff.
Holly Holm doing the KFC bit.
I mean, they even get into boxing now. Rolly got it.
Is this?
That's the 619 right there.
That's what that's called?
Yes.
That's Rey Mysterio, right?
Rey Mysterio Jr., yeah.
His move is called the 619. Why is it called 619?
His area code, I believe, right? Right, Long Island, Luke?
You're asking the wrong guy.
All right. Well, that's not interesting at all.
Luke, white folks of the week time. Let's go over
Mi
to
gente.
this. Yeah, let's watch this.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow, that is one way to move a
You know
mattress.
what? If you just want to get going early on the U-Haul thing, just do that.
Also, don't bring your kids to concerts. Here's why. Oh, good Lord. And also...
Where the fuck is security?
And don't bring them to football games either, Luke, because a power slap event might break out.
Oh,
yes.
Hey, that's the best one yet.
Damn.
Dude, if you're a girl and you're about to fight another girl, how do you not grab the hair first? It is the deciding factor of who wins.
Or who has the high ground. We learned that from Anakin versus...
But even then, if you have the high ground, you can just pull them. Like, dude, you gotta grab the hair first if you're gonna do that.
All right. Luke, fighter commercial time. Watch what Corey Sandhagen put together here. Oh, what Corey? Here we go.
What made you think this was okay?
Last week, you said, Corey, you get 100% commission on all your products you sell, which means more pain, more gain. And then I said, more pain. And then you said, more gain. And I really thought that we were on the same page with the whole thing.
Well, Corey, you hit someone with your car.
Look at this.
That had nothing to do with this.
Corey, how far were you going to take this?
Hi, how can I help you?
I'm a janitor!
Corey,
that was good shit right there. Shout out to Corey Sandhagen.
He was like Terry Tate, office linebacker.
Yes,
Remember that?
yes.
That's
Well-
a long distance phone call, Doug.
Terry Tate used to double leg people. Do you remember former UFC fighter Mark De La Rosa, who's married to Montana De La Rosa?
Not much.
Watch him help out local law enforcement here with this sick double leg to take down a perpetrator. I see a Waffle House in the background.
I mean, of course, it's America. Oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Got him. Got him like Matt Serra in a restaurant, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Dude,
good
who
stuff
the
right
fuck
there.
Fucks with Matt Serra out in the wild.
Nobody.
A dumbass. That's
Nobody.
who.
He would have jumped off those cliffs in YMI. I'll tell you that much, right?
You know
Wow.
who else would have? Francis.
Luke,
Big Francis.
it's Halloween time, so I'm sure Tukey is decorating the pumpkins at home.
Your family had a pumpkin decorating contest. Okay,
It's
all right.
decent, right?
All right, got the knife in there. That's
They
that's
got the
edgy.
blood.
That's
Yep,
edgy.
that's pretty good.
Okay,
That's
all
probably
right.
mom's.
We're working with something here.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. You know what? That one actually legitimately got me. That was.
Luke, you can't have elder abuse before you have child abuse. So here's your poor parent of the week.
Oh.
Okay.
So hold on. I've done something similar.
Yeah. I've delivered trauma to my loved ones.
Not this bad. This guy went way worse. But these things now are common. So when we were kids, we had the wood chips that you would fall on.
No, I had concrete under everything I played.
Okay,
on
but I remember some of my parks having the wood chips, and this was back in the 80s and 90s. But now they've added this zip line thing, and Tukey fucking loves the zip line. And she kept doing it and being like, faster, daddy, faster. So one time I was like, "All right, you want to fucking go faster?"
Oh, no.
And I gave her the old Back to the Future bit, like 88 miles an hour. She fell off of it, and so we learned a lesson that day, ultimately, about how hard you can actually push.
Well, you got to be careful of Tukes at the pool too, Luke. Watch this family.
They got a big old beach ball. For a big old bitch.
Luke, let's go over to the garage and see this gentleman's fortunes.
Oh, fucking hell!
Got him!
That went 0 to 60.
Yeah. Hey, all eyes on the next one right here.
Speak now to our correspondent Gary O'Donoghue, who's in Minneapolis. And Gary, all eyes on this case.
Yeah. You know what, Gary's got it hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gary was supposed to be fighting Tatiana Suarez too, but that fight fell apart
Oh,
here.
wow.
All right, I take that
bit?
back. I take it back right away. Okay. Hey, let's see this next guy.
Hitting on girls with my dog. Hey.
All right. You ever see Dude Perfect, Luke? This is Dude Imperfect.
Check this out.
Dude, I'm kicking the ball off the side of the house.
Okay.
I gotta bank it off of this first goal.
No
into
fucking
the
way he can
second
do that.
goal.
Oh, no
Look
way.
at this.
No chance. Okay.
Luke, I got some great advice, life advice for you that's timeless.
That's my experience too. Jack it a bit, let it relax, jack it a little bit more.
Right.
When did you decide to stop?
I never have.
And BC's like, not at the bus stop. I can tell you that.
All right, Luke, you ever think about cavemen much? Like, what if you had to, like,
No.
wake them up and teach them about what they missed?
No.
Here, drink this. Ooh, ooga booga. Oh, you see that, Greg? He likes it. Yeah, that's great, but how do we break the news to him about 9/11?
And Luke,
I can't believe we do this in New York City.
Didn't you say your favorite rap song of all time was Still Tippin' by Mike Jones?
It's one of them, yeah.
This guy's favorite, too.
What's the question?
How do you get out from the hood?
Do what?
How do you get out from the hood?
I don't know. I didn't grow up there.
You ain't never been to the hood before. You gotta come to the hood sometime.
No, I mean, I'm down. What? Like, I like Mike Jones. Fucking, I'll get down. Fucking fofos, I'm tipping. Wood grain, I'm gripping. Switching with the Patriots.
Ain't dripping. Turn your neck and you'll dang miss it. Me and Slim, we ain't tripping all season.
Flipping his toes, stepping like do
A
it
do
down.
or die,
toe
I'm pole pimping. Car stop, rims keep
I'm
spinning.
flipping drive with invisible top. Hose down my drop step out on chicken block with 418.
418.
Candy green with 11 screen. My gasoline
always supreme.
Hell yeah, let's fucking go.
This guy,
I can do about half that.
I think that guy just fixed race relations for like a decade by doing that, right? That was perfect.
Why don't you stumble through your words more there, you fucking dumbass?
Too cheesy.
Dude,
That's my shit for the week. I
Not
hope you
bad,
liked it.
not
Not
bad,
a
not
bad
bad, not
batch.
bad.
Wow, the best show in combat sports, 2 hours or less. Okay, you like it, you get it. Yeah.
If there was a theme today, BC, it's that everyone needs to lick my balls.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to.
I mean, should I try to take any of these off before getting on the subway? You know, that's the real question right here.
Let me see how's my hair look.
They kind of
Terrible.
work on me, right? Like, do you think they add layers of toughness or just suggested toughness? You know, like light toughness?
They add layers of sadness, right?
I refuse to put on any of the teardrops just in case anyone.
No, that's going a little far.
Yeah, because I don't think I can. I've earned that. You know what I'm saying? To have.
Hey,
them.
what is your plans for Halloween, Long Island, Luke? Aside from marijuana.
I mean, you just nailed it on the head right there.
He's like Billy Joel records and
kids,
marijuana.
kids don't come to my house, so I'm
They
just
know
hanging.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
might
yeah.
go see the nephew and nieces or something.
How old are they?
They range. Oldest is 13, youngest is 1.
If the
5 of
13
them.
is still doing Halloween, it's time to have an intervention.
She's probably not. I don't know what she's up to. But the 1-year-old lives nearby. I'll go see.
What is the cutoff year for Halloween?
When I went out my freshman year, I got told by 2 different houses that I was too old to be there, and that's when I knew.
Dude, I'm sorry.
So I was 14, my
Dude.
freshman fall of my freshman.
I did it when I was 11, and I was like, I think I've had enough.
Yeah, but you were probably 6'4" at that time.
Okay, but I was in fucking 5th grade or whatever it was. Like, what is wrong with you? 6th grade, whatever.
Long Island Luke, when did you stop?
I definitely remember still doing it in middle school, which would have been up to 14. I don't remember if I ever did it in high school.
Everyone I knew in high school was still going out. I remember when I stopped, it was because I was tall and
You can't be both. Like, if you're at a stage in your life where you're jerking off, you can't go trick or treating anymore.
Wow.
That's the handle.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm serious. Once you reach puberty, it's a wrap
It's
for
over.
you.
Yeah.
It's
No,
over for you.
I personally think it should probably be 8th grade. That's probably the perfect cutoff.
Yeah, I think mine was 5th or 6th. I was like, you know what?
You're like, it's time to join the
And then I remember
debate
I remember
team.
asking the other kids, being like, "What are you doing?" And I'll never forget the first time I moved to a new. I just moved to a new school, and I was like, "What are you guys doing for Halloween?" And they're all like, "We're going bag snatching." I didn't know what that was because
Yeah.
I was an idiot, and I'm like, bag snatching. And they're like, yeah, we find other vulnerable kids, and then we just snatch their bags.
Oh, that's
and run.
awful. We just threw eggs at houses. That was like our thing.
Eggs and toilet paper?
Well, no, not even toilet paper, just straight eggs. And then you'd run as fast as you can and kind of hope they got close but didn't catch you because they'd beat the shit out of you. Probably call the police.
You know who went bag snatching?
Who?
Ken, but don't tell him I said
Oh,
that.
our great sound guy, Ken. He held us together today. We had some sound issues, but thank you, Ken. Thank you guys for watching this wonderful show. Outside of Luke's snot rocket, it was really a perfect, really perfect experience there. You can follow us on those socials. Check out our YouTube channels there. And also, you can buy our merch at morningcombat.store with the 10% off using our code LIVE10, LIVE10. Luke has been molesting his Mario belly for a while.
This thing is fun.
Do you miss having that? I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of
Luke,
fun.
would you say you're in pretty good shape these days?
I'm okay. I'm working on it. It's always a work in progress. But I'm, because I had to give up lifting weights because of my leg. It was so fucked up. I was on antibiotics forever.
You almost died.
I'm actually, I feel like I've made a bit of a comeback at the gym. I've reached some milestones that were pretty good. So
that's good. That's
but this
good.
is this thing's a little fun. This little
It's
million belly.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird right there.
Hey, this is everyone massaging my balls after the weekend. I want you to know this is what everyone's doing.
we'll be back on Friday. We got a good UFC fight night this weekend to get you fired up for.
We legitimately do.
Yeah, so we'll hit that and maybe a little bit more. So check us out 11 a.m. Friday.
Is there no boxing this weekend?
There is Oshaki Foster rematching Robson Conceição.
That's a hardcore cut right
Yeah, I'm into it, though. I'm into it. I mean, he got screwed that first time. So he said he's going to be more offensive this time around. We'll see.
He better be.
Okay, we'll see what's going down. What type of games are being played? How's it going down, right? Is you with me or what? You know what I'm saying?
Racist.
Okay, all right. Hey, that's the Long Island Luke. That's the regular Luke. I'm your boy BC. Take care of yourself on this Monday. We enjoyed your company. Like and subscribe and all that other reach around stuff. But whatever.
Suck my balls.
Suck his pelotas and take care of yourselves. We are out. Thank you.